Illusory Torrent also allows Mona to travel swiftly over water.
Ladies and gentlemen, you read the title. You know what's going on. Today we're going to be reacting to every single collected miscellany from Venti to Julliangg. I am a beginner to Genshin Impact. I just started playing like last week. I'm loving it so far. Shout out to this YouTube channel for putting together this playlist in chronological order. And without further ado, let's get started with your favorite bard, Venti.
A mysterious bard named Venti has recently appeared in the world, singing tales for the city of freedom and romance. This city is Mondstadt, the crown of the north, a free nation with no ruler. This once bitter cold land in the north of Teyvat is now fertile, a blessing left by the god of Anemo, they say. 1,000 years have passed since the god of Anemo left this land. But to me, it has only been half that time.
Come on, traveler, let's go! The world is full of lost ballads just waiting to be rediscovered.
There goes Thane's left again.
As an archer with the power of Anemo, Venti can battle with ease in almost any environment. His versatile attack style and his ability to launch enemies with his elemental skill allow for a high amount of mobility in battle. His unique elemental burst can pull together nearby enemies, making him a strategic character who can both deal damage and control the battlefield.
Why is it red?
When Venti is in your party, gliding consumes less stamina for all characters.
Oh my gosh,
Needless to
please.
say, this skill will come in handy on your adventures. Take Venti along when exploring the beautiful open world. Normal attacks can perform up to 6 consecutive shots. The first and fourth shots can fire an extra arrow, while the 6th shot deals greater damage.
Right.
Hold the attack button to use a more powerful aimed shot. When fully charged, an Anemo-infused arrow is fired and deals even more damage to the enemy. Call upon the wind on which hymns and songs fly to lift your enemies up into the sky. When you use the elemental skill Skyward Sonnet, Venti summons a wind domain at the enemy's location, dealing area of effect Anemo damage. Enemies are launched into the air and fall slowly to the ground. Hold Skyward Sonnet to summon an even larger wind domain around Venti, dealing greater area of effect damage and launching enemies into the air.
You go up too.
Venti also uses this powerful wind to fly high into the air. Adept use of this skill not only allows you to attack enemies, but also dodge attacks and move around the environment. If the opportunity presents itself, you can also use a plunging attack from above. Wind domains can even be utilized to help you get around.
Yes, much needed.
After unlocking the talent Embrace of Winds, holding Skyward Sonnet will also create a temporary upcurrent as you fly into the air.
Oh my god.
By firing an arrow infused with coalesced winds, Venti creates a fierce storm that sucks in surrounding enemies and deals Anemo damage. Contact with hydro, pyro, cryo, or electro elements causes the storm to absorb that element and deal additional elemental damage. The storm can only absorb one element each time.
Oh, okay.
After unlocking the talent Storm Eye, Venti's energy will be replenished at the end of Wind's Grand Ode. If an element was absorbed, the energy of party members of that element will also be replenished. Even though Venti is more than capable of handling different obstacles in battle, strategic party selection and teamwork can help you maximize Venti's abilities. First, use Divine Archery to attack enemies from afar and whittle away at their health. Use Skyward Sonnet to launch dangerous enemies into the air. Gather up energy to prepare for the final attack. When your energy is full, unleash your elemental burst. Wind's Grand Ode sucks the enemies in and deals Anemo damage. Use another element on enemies in the storm to generate a swirl reaction. Then use another compatible element to cause an elemental reaction.
Right.
Causing another elemental reaction brings the battle to a swift end.
Dang.
As we all know, poetry and language flow like the wind. Venti captures this spirit in his ballads. Flora and fauna he sings of seem to have a life of their own, and transport us to the moon and the stars. This self-proclaimed best bard of the mortal world gets his strength, his unwithering inspiration from the wind. But what Venti seeks in life is not eternal fame for his ballads. Rather, he'd be happy with a cup of wine and a lyre to sing the marvelous stories of the world. Yes, that would make Venti the Bard very content indeed.
Is it just me, or did it seem like he could do so many different things? I mean, I'm so used to, just starting the game, a quick little slash attack for your, for your E ability. But he can literally go up in the air. And then he said if you have a skill, you can keep that current going. And then he can suck.
Hey, yo!
He can pull together all the enemies and then chain that with a elemental combo. I need to figure out how to unlock Venti pronto.
As the Dawn Winery's owner, Diluc dominates Mondstadt's alcohol industry. Wealth and information are at his fingertips. Modest and refined, yet quick to act whenever Mondstadt faces a crisis.
Oh no, Timmy.
What caused him to choose this path? How very curious.
There must be those who dare to pierce the darkness with their light.
As one who wields pyro and a claymore, Diluc has perfected the art of violence and dominates the battlefield. With his powerful skills, Diluc causes massive damage with ease and crushes all his foes with fearsome, ruthless strikes. Born a noble, Diluc is well versed in all things swords. With his guidance, no metal ore is wasted in their making. When forging claymores, Diluc recovers a set percentage of the ores used, aiding greatly in your adventure.
Oh, okay.
Diluc's normal attack performs up to 4 consecutive strikes, with the 4th strike launching enemies. Holding the attack button constantly consumes Diluc's stamina to launch swift consecutive attacks, dealing increased physical damage to nearby enemies, and unleashing an extra powerful attack at the end that launches enemies. Use this wisely to scatter enemy groups and defeat shielded foes. Unlocking the talent Relentless decreases Diluc's charged attack stamina consumption and increases its maximum duration. Use his fierce attacks to defeat those before you. Using the elemental skill Searing Onslaught, Diluc strikes with his claymore, dealing pyro damage.
3 times?
This can be done 3 times in a row, with a short window of time to connect each strike. But pay attention. This skill enters cooldown if the next strike is not activated in a short period of time. Using Searing Onslaught in concert with normal attacks allows you to deal constant damage to enemies, while remaining evasive and mobile. Additionally, since this skill deals pyro damage, Diluc can form combinations with other characters, using elemental reactions to deal greater damage.
Your verdict is?
Surrounding himself in flames, Diluc knocks nearby enemies back, before gathering the flames into his blade and launching a phoenix, dealing massive pyro damage to enemies in its path. Diluc's normal and charged attacks will also deal pyro damage for a period of time. Dawn has a very large hitbox, allowing it to not only strike airborne foes, but also forcibly reposition enemies to an extent, making it very strong against groups. The pyro damage conversion that Dawn provides further strengthens Diluc's attacks. Unlocking the Blessing of Phoenix talent increases the duration of Dawn's pyro damage conversion, and gives Diluc a pyro damage bonus. Diluc is, without question, a well-honed warrior, who efficiently deals with any task. Now, please witness him in action. He begins suppressing the target with normal attacks, combining it with his elemental skill to deal great pyro damage to the enemy. He weaves between these two attack modes to suppress the foe more quickly, while building up elemental energy. He uses his elemental burst once his energy is full, followed by attacks enhanced by Blessing of Phoenix, defeating the enemy flawlessly. D-Luke's explosive, ruthless fighting style and his aloof manner are all admirable traits. But if the disaster from 5 centuries ago were to happen again, if he were to face the same evil that I once did, would he still hold fast to his resolve? This, too, makes me most curious indeed.
Me too. What happened 5 years ago? D-Luke looks pretty clean. He looks like just a aggressive character from what I saw right there. But seems like he's really kind of one-dimensional, though. Seems like he's just straightforward damage.
There are many remarkable people in Mondstadt's Knights of Favonius. Among them is a small knight who raised Stormbearer Mountains flat, and whose name has recently become commonplace both within Mondstadt and beyond. When it comes to Spark Knight Klee, there are rumors aplenty. Interestingly, those telling these rumors do so with a smirk and a shake of their heads, joking that even Mondstadt's fish have learned to swim away when they see her.
Can I come play with you today? Please? I want to go on an adventure.
Well known as the Spark Knight, Klee is able to deal continuous pyro damage with her childlike glee and a pack and pockets full of bombs. But watch out, as anything near her may be turned to ash in a fiery explosion.
Jesus.
Klee loves adventures and is adept at expeditions and gathering. Not only does she know the locations of Mondstadt's unique flora, she may also know where to find a treasure or two. When Klee is on your team, the location of items unique to Mondstadt will appear on your minimap.
Oh.
When it comes to anything explosive, Klee simply can't control her enthusiasm.
He's killing the fish.
Klee's normal attack performs up to 3 consecutive explosive attacks that deal AoE pyro damage. Holding the attack button consumes a certain amount of stamina, and after a short casting time blasts enemies, dealing AoE pyro damage.
Okay.
When Klee is up high, her charged attack can reach enemies even farther away. Also, Klee's normal and charged attacks are especially effective against geo-targets, making them ideal against enemies with geo-shields, and for quickly mining ore. After unlocking the talent Sparkling Burst, when Klee's charged attack lands a critical hit, some energy will be restored for all party members. Use Klee's elemental skill to toss Jumpy Dumpty.
Jumpy
Jumpy Dumpty will bounce 3 times, each bounce causing an explosion that deals AoE pyro damage. On the 3rd bounce, Jumpy Dumpty will burst into mines. These explode upon contact with enemies or after a short time, dealing AoE pyro damage. Jumpy Dumpty will automatically recharge over time to up to 2 charges. It is effective in dealing with groups of enemies. After Jumpy Dumpty explodes, switch characters and pull enemies together to take advantage of the mines and deal a lot of damage to enemies. After unlocking the talent Pounding Surprise, when Jumpy Dumpty and normal attacks deal damage, Klee has a chance to obtain an explosive spark.
A Pounding Surprise?
When Klee has an explosive spark, instead of consuming stamina, her next charged attack will expend the spark instead and deal increased damage.
Blow them all up!
Klee's Blazing Delight, Sparks and Splash, continuously attacks nearby enemies for the duration of the skill, dealing AoE pyro damage. Sparks and Splash has high damage and attack rate, empowering Klee to deal immense damage while on the battlefield. Klee is able to continuously dish out strong pyro attacks, earning her a role as the firepower of your party. Next, let's look at a battle to experience Klee's incredible destructive capability. In battle, Klee can use her elemental skill and normal attacks to repeatedly activate the effect of the talent Pounding Surprise, and use charged attacks to suppress enemies.
Good grief.
When her energy is full, unleash an elemental burst to further increase her ability to deal damage. After this, Klee can have fun causing explosions, spreading flames in every direction, and burning enemies to a crisp. When the people of Mondstadt talk about their home, they proudly call it the City of Wind, Dandelions, and Freedom. Perhaps it was Mondstadt's atmosphere of freedom that led the famous adventurer Alice to entrust her daughter Klee to the care of the Knights of Favonius.
Alice.
With this freedom, Klee has had a happy and unrestrained childhood, but all baby birds must leave the nest someday. Hopefully, our little Spark Knight will remain just as happy-go-lucky when that day comes, and keep smiling all the way.
That is terrifying. The most innocent-looking character has bombs and destruction. Yeah, I really wonder how you come across her. Like, I don't want to worry about it. I want to spoil it for myself, so I'll just keep playing, but Jumpty Dumpty.
When Grandmaster Varka of Mondstadt's Knights of Favonius left on an expedition, his role passed to Jean, the eldest daughter of House Gunhildr. The young acting Grandmaster had become a skilled swordsman through hard work, and works harder still for the sake of the Knights. Self-sacrifice, after all, is the Dandelion Knight's path.
As the wind continues to blow, so too shall I continue to fight.
Jean has excellent crowd control and support abilities, and can act in concert with others to suppress the enemy. Jean's elemental burst can instantly restore her health, and benefit her allies as well, making her the pillar of any team. Even when cooking, Jean is always concerned with helping others, and can accidentally make extra helpings. When Jean cooks a restorative dish perfectly, she has a chance to create 2 of them. All the better to face the battles ahead.
Nice.
Jean can perform up to 5 consecutive normal attacks, dealing physical damage to enemies. Holding the attack button consumes a set amount of stamina, and unleashes a wind-infused thrust that deals high physical damage and launches enemies. Launched enemies will fall slowly for a short time, allowing Jean to control the flow of battle, and give her teammates a chance to perform follow-up attacks more safely.
Right.
Unlocking the talent Wind Companion gives Jean's normal attacks a chance to heal all party members on hit. This healing scales with Jean's attack power. Tapping her elemental skill Gale Blade causes Jean to perform follow-up attacks more safely. Unlocking the talent Wind Companion gives Jean's normal attacks a chance to heal all party members on hit. This healing scales with Jean's attack power. Tapping her elemental skill Gale Blade causes Jean to gather formless wind on her sword and unleash a small storm, launching enemies in the direction Jean is aiming, dealing anemo damage. Holding Gale Blade constantly consumes Jean's stamina, pulling nearby enemies in front of her, and allowing her to adjust the direction in which she wishes to launch them, dealing anemo damage. Enemies launched by Gale Blade will remain clumped together when they fall, making follow-up attacks easier. Gale Blade is a very flexible ability. Strategic use of the surrounding terrain will often amplify its effects.
Wind, hear me!
Calling upon the wind's protection, Jean creates a dandelion field, knocking nearby enemies back and dealing anemo damage. The field also quickly heals nearby allies and all party members. This healing scales with Jean's attack power. The dandelion field continuously heals characters within it, infusing them with anemo, while dealing anemo damage to enemies who enter or leave the field. Once the talent Let the Wind Lead is unlocked, using Dandelion Field will regenerate some additional elemental energy. Jean can help her team take charge, aid in their attacks, and do great damage through skillful use of her abilities. A well-rounded fighter indeed. Start the battle by using her elemental skill. Mop up nearby enemy groups and build elemental energy. Then use her charged attack to disrupt their movements, allowing your party members to switch in, attack, and deal damage. When your party members have taken significant damage, use her elemental burst at the opportune moment to repel enemies and regenerate your team's health before beginning the next round of attacks to finish the fight. Though Jean may lack experience, Mondstadt has only prospered since she assumed Varka's great responsibilities. Even I, who has seen countless people, must respect her desire to always defend Mondstadt. But unlike most who bear great burdens, this young knight has remained as tenacious as ever. How was her will molded, and what sustains her edge such that it never wears down? If fate wills it, I will find the answer to these questions.
Jean is crazy. There's so many like healing abilities that she has. Like everything that she did healed her teammates. I mean, like when she hits people, if she has the right skill, then her whole ultimate is a giant AoE of health. That's like, she's offensive, but she's also gonna help the team heal. I need her on my team.
Children as special as Chi-Chi are few and far between. As a zombie, time has no effect on her, but she has difficulty committing things to memory. For Chi-Chi, perhaps this is a good thing. She can forget her past and be an herb gatherer at Boo Boo Pharmacy.
Boo Boo Pharmacy.
But those who underestimate her just for being a child do so at their peril.
I am Chi-Chi. I am a zombie. And I forgot what comes next.
With her mastery over cryo, Chi-Chi is a powerful asset to your team. Despite her size, she has the strength to protect others. With Chi-Chi by your side, you will always feel safe. When gathering herbs, she always knows where to find them, because she always carries a notebook with her that has all their locations marked, lest she go out and become completely lost. With Chi-Chi on your team, the mini-map will show areas where plants unique to Liyue grow, making it easier to gather certain resources. Chi-Chi's normal attack can combo up to 5 slashes, dealing physical damage to enemies. Holding the attack button consumes a set amount of stamina, and releases a 2-slash flurry, dealing high physical damage. Using Chi-Chi's elemental skill, Herald of Frost, deals cryo damage to surrounding enemies.
What?
Herald of Frost moves with the character, dealing damage along the way, while also healing the current character periodically.
Oh my gosh.
While Herald of Frost is active, normal and charged attack hits heal the entire party.
Look at that.
And nearby allies by a set amount based on Chi-Chi's attack power. Not only does this increase the team's endurance, it also allows you to dominate the enemy when paired with Hydro. This skill is also useful during exploration. Using it to freeze water surfaces is a sound strategy for conserving stamina. After unlocking the talent Life-Prolonging Methods, when a character under the influence of Adeptus Art Herald of Frost triggers an elemental reaction, incoming healing is increased.
Sacred
Increased
name,
by a lot.
Fortune Preserver.
When Chi-Chi releases the Adeptal power sealed inside herself, she marks nearby enemies with a fortune-preserving talisman and deals cryo damage to them. When enemies marked with fortune-preserving talismans take damage, the character dealing the damage is healed. By choosing an opportune moment to use Adeptus Art Preserver of Fortune, the whole team can be protected while dishing out damage. After unlocking the talent A Glimpse into Arcanum, normal and charged attack hits have a chance to tag enemies with a fortune-preserving talisman, once per set time period. Chi-Chi has the ability to constantly heal, an excellent safeguard that helps keep your team alive. The more difficult the battle, the more apparent Chi-Chi's assistance becomes. When entering battle, first use Herald of Frost to allow your team to deal constant cryo damage, and easily trigger elemental reactions for greater damage. The effects of Herald of Frost will keep your team fighting fit. until the right moment comes to unleash an elemental burst, allowing your team to safely unleash all the firepower they've got. As a zombie, Chi-Chi has escaped the grip of both time and death. How Chi-Chi entered this state of existence, I do not know, but I doubt it was of her own volition. Are the heavenly principles toying with her, or is fate seeking to torture her? Is an ordinary life of simple pleasures really a thing so fragile?
Yeah, you guys have told me that Chi-Chi was reanimated. That's what happened to her. I really like how she can use the little thing that goes around her. I like how she can use that to literally just walk on water. Like, I'll play as Kaya and I'll continuously use the E ability to just like, you know, try and walk on the water, but I have to sit there and wait for the cooldown. If I had her, I could literally just walk through the water.
The stars illuminate all mortal destinies, though few have eyes to perceive their meaning. But Mona, an astrologist newly arrived in Mondstadt, is able to read the fates of others through stars reflected in the water. But while no phenomenon is hidden from the astrologist Mona, she struggles often with the minutiae of daily life. It is a most common predicament. The more you seek truth, the more simple joys elude you.
This was ordained by fate. Long had I foreseen it.
Hydro.
Mona has skill that matches her reputation. As a hydro-aligned catalyst user, she masters the battlefield with ease, controlling the situation and creating openings for her teammates to attack. As a student of all things in and under the night sky, Mona also has a strong grasp of weapon construction. In truth, she finds that most weapons are wastefully made. When she crafts weapon ascension materials, she has a chance to recover a portion of the materials used.
Nice. Is she...
Mona's normal attack performs up to 4 strikes that deal hydro damage. Holding the attack button consumes a set amount of stamina and deals area of effect hydro damage after a short casting time. Mona creates a phantom of fate from coalesced water. This phantom taunts nearby enemies and deals continuous hydro damage to them. The phantom explodes when its duration expires, dealing area of effect hydro damage to enemies.
It's like Barrett Bunny.
Holding the elemental skill button causes Mona to ride a flow of water backwards and summon her phantom. This skill has many applications. The phantom can be used to taunt enemies, making them wet and priming them for attacks from Mona's allies. It can also help her out of a pinch.
Oh, I see.
When Mona sprints, she cloaks herself in flowing water, consuming stamina to move rapidly. Ending this skill causes Mona to emerge, getting nearby enemies wet. Illusory Torrent also allows Mona to travel swiftly over water. Once her first passive talent is unlocked, Mona can create a phantom automatically if she maintains this skill for a certain period of time with an enemy nearby.
Fate is upon you.
Did she not get hit?
Mona summons sparkling waves and creates a reflection of the starry sky, applying the wet and illusory bubble statuses onto all enemies in the area. When affected by illusory bubble, weaker enemies will be imprisoned and unable to move. Attacking imprisoned enemies removes that status from them and deals an instance of hydro damage. When the status is cleared, the enemy comes under an omen. Enemies affected by an omen take more damage.
Oh yeah.
On the ever-changing battlefield, Mona's capacity for control cannot be overlooked. This astrologist aids her team at critical moments, controlling the field and maximizing her teammates' damage. As the battle begins, she first summons a phantom. It taunts enemies and lets her switch out, using the opening created to cooperate with her teammates and deal massive damage to enemies. She uses these combined techniques to control enemies, allowing the party to damage them safely. Once the time is right, she uses her elemental burst to entrap enemies and attacks them to trigger damage bonus effects. This way, she can defeat the weakened enemies before her, all in good time.
Wow.
Mona's hydromancy is indeed unique. No one can deny her intelligence and talent. Within Mondstadt, there are few who possess the ability and a desire to seek truth equal to hers. But beware, O young seeker. You must sacrifice your all to unravel the world's secrets. Can the astrologist Mona truly bear such a burden?
She is good. Can she get hit while she's like under the ground like that? If she can't get hit, that's crazy. It looked like she was going right under the fire when she was doing that. And also that ability in itself is just like really cool. It's just like that's such a different thing than what I'm used to, because everybody else just runs, you know? So that's sick, dude. And then like going into the water, you guys are probably like, why is he so excited about the water stuff? I hate water, okay? My first death in this game was because I drowned to death. No, there's no way. Oh! That is a character I absolutely want, for sure.
Everyone in Liyue knows it is Rex Lapis who protects their borders. But the city's daily affairs are run by the Qixing. As Julliangg of the Qixing, Keqing acts decisively and pragmatically, knowing every inch of Liyue like the back of her hand. Yet as a representative of the mortals of Liyue, she has much to say about Rex Lapis's unilateral governance.
We live in an era of change, as the old order that has existed for 1,000 years is about to be rewritten.
Within the Qixing, Keqing is one for action. Ruthless efficiency is her modus operandi. Like her personality, her sword work is both swift and uncompromising. This, along with her control of Electro, brings a shockingly abrupt end to any enemy. Keqing could not be more familiar with Liyue. Even on long journeys, she always finds a swift route back home. If dispatched on an expedition in Liyue, she will complete it more quickly than most.
Nice.
Keqing can unleash a combo of up to 5 normal attacks, her final strike allowing her to pass through enemies.
That's clean.
Yunlai swordsmanship is both offensive and defensive, offering a way to dodge some attacks and strike back from a better angle. Hold the attack button to consume stamina, and release a 2/flurry, dealing high physical damage.
And knocking him back, too.
Tap Keqing's elemental skill Stellar Restoration to throw a lightning stiletto, which deals electro damage to enemies in a small area upon impact, and leaves behind a lightning stiletto marker. If Keqing uses Stellar Restoration again while the marker is still present, she flies to the marker and performs a quick slash, dealing electro AoE damage.
Just like Munitel.
Holding Stellar Restoration allows Keqing to aim the lightning stiletto before releasing it. Adept use of the lightning stiletto produces various results. With the lightning stiletto, Keqing can flash into battle and attack from the best position.
That's cool.
The lightning stiletto can also be used in exploration to navigate challenging terrain. Keqing can also clear the lightning stiletto with a charged attack, causing a slashing thunderstorm that deals electro AoE damage at its location.
Oh, you just blow it up. Yeah.
Deft use of this skill allows Keqing to creatively deal ranged damage. After unlocking the talent Thundering Penance, using Stellar Restoration while the lightning stiletto is present converts Keqing's normal and charged attacks to electro damage for a short time.
Cut to the chase!
That is sick.
Keqing unleashes her electro power, causing electro AoE damage. Hiding behind the shadow of her sword, she relentlessly slashes surrounding enemies at lightning speed, dealing multiple rounds of damage, with a final burst of electro AoE damage at the end. After unlocking the talent Aristocratic Dignity, casting Starward Sword increases Keqing's crit rate and energy recharge for a period of time.
Nice.
Light on her feet and leaving no shadow, Keqing is a sharp addition to any team. Groups of enemies or single opponents are no match for a well-executed combination of her skills. Keqing cuts them all down with ease. The key to combat with Keqing is mastery of the Lightning Stiletto. First, use her elemental skill to place the stiletto. Then, use her elemental skill again to zip into battle and strike quickly. Follow up with more electro damage, using her elemental skill to suppress the enemy. And continue to use the Lightning Stiletto at opportune moments to frequently move and attack. Keep up the offensive to rapidly accumulate energy. Once full, it is time to unleash Starward Sword and bring the fight to a perfect end. Human history is to be written by the people. Even without the protection of the gods, Liyue would flourish as always. This is Keqing's belief. This desire to take fate into her own hands. I remember this feeling. Will she be able to bring her vision to life, to protect this land she calls home? In the hands of the Qixing, where is Liyue headed? The road ahead is unclear, but we shall wait and see.
She definitely has the most flashy moveset I've seen so far. For sure. I mean, to be able to teleport like that, it's a complex thing. To have to like keep doing that back and forth, back and forth. She seems absolutely sick. It's definitely like another offensive, just like damage character.
The Fatui from Snezhnaya are known to make waves wherever they go in Teyvat. And Tartaglia is a driving force within them. Of the 11 Harbingers, 10 concern themselves with clandestine operations. Tartaglia is the sole exception. Rather than lure his enemies into a trap, he prefers to face them head-on in one-on-one combat.
Isn't that Child?
The wind is picking up. There's conflict in the air.
His reputation precedes him. Child is known far and wide as a fearsome warrior, well-versed in a variety of fighting forms. He can switch stances at will, and has 2 distinct modes of attack at his disposal. When Tartaglia is in your party, all characters' normal attacks gain 1 level, dealing increased damage as a result.
Oh, wow.
Tartaglia is weakest with a bow, so he chooses to use one precisely to overcome this weakness. His normal attack can combo up to 6 consecutive shots. Charging the attack executes a more precise shot that deals increased damage. While aiming, hydro energy accumulates on the arrowhead. A fully charged arrow will deal hydro damage to enemies on impact, and also apply the Riptide status to them.
Did it charge twice?
When an enemy is affected by Riptide, further hits from Tartaglia's fully charged arrows deal multiple bouts of area of effect hydro damage. Also, when Tartaglia defeats an enemy affected by Riptide, it causes a Hydro Burst, which applies the Riptide status to nearby enemies. Unlocking the talent Never Ending extends the duration of Riptide. Faced with a strong foe, Tartaglia will reveal his true might. When he casts his elemental skill, he summons weaponry fashioned from pure hydro, dealing hydro damage to surrounding enemies in the process, and also switches to his melee stance. In this stance, his normal attack now combos up to 6 consecutive hydro slashes. Charging the attack consumes stamina and releases a 2-slash flurry, dealing hydro damage. In melee stance, when Tartaglia strikes an enemy affected by Riptide, he deals area of effect hydro damage. Tartaglia exits melee stance when his elemental skill is cast again, or after a certain time has elapsed. He then returns to his ranged stance, and his elemental skill enters cooldown. The longer Tartaglia spends in melee stance, the longer the cooldown time.
Aw.
After unlocking the talent Sword of Torrents, when in melee stance, if Tartaglia deals a critical hit, the Riptide status is applied to the enemy.
Lucky.
Depending on Tartaglia's stance, his elemental burst will unleash one of two different attacks.
Riptide!
In ranged stance, Tartaglia swiftly fires a hydro-imbued magic arrow ahead of him, which deals area of effect hydro damage, and also applies the Riptide status to enemies. Afterwards, Tartaglia regains some of his spent energy.
Shouldn't let your guard down.
In melee stance, Tartaglia performs a slashing attack with a wide area of effect, dealing substantial hydro damage to all surrounding enemies. And if the elemental burst hits an enemy affected by Riptide, the Riptide effect will be consumed in a hydro explosion, which deals area of effect hydro damage. Tartaglia is a formidable warrior who lives for the heat of battle. He chooses his moments to attack and retreat, and is tactical when selecting his mode of attack. This is what makes him so powerful. Faced with a single opponent, start by firing at them from a distance to apply the Riptide status. Then, enter melee stance and go in for the kill. Use fast and frequent attacks to trigger Riptide effects and deal immense damage. Against groups of enemies, build up energy in advance, and unleash an elemental burst in ranged stance to apply the Riptide status to the group.
Oh, yeah.
Then enter melee stance and attack the enemies affected by Riptide, hacking away at their health, while also restoring Tartaglia's energy. Wait for an opportune moment to unleash another elemental burst and take them all out in one go, bringing the battle to a clear-cut conclusion. Few know where Tartaglia acquired his fighting skills before becoming a Harbinger. Nor do many know where his lust for combat originates. There is a dangerous secret to the martial legacy he inherits, but it is one that even he himself does not fully understand.
He's watching us.
Since becoming a Fatui Harbinger, fighting for the Tsaritsa is his new motivation as a warrior. Child is the Tsaritsa's weapon of war, and he stands for the might of Snezhnaya. An icy storm is starting to blow towards the other nations. Brace yourselves. Tevat is about to get cold.
I guess he has two different names. He goes by Child, but he also goes by Tartaglia. That's really cool how he has pretty much like two different weapons, two different stances, the bow stance and the melee stance. But his melee stance is at a cost because it seems like that actually is his skill. So that's a character that is pretty cool in my eyes, but I probably wouldn't go with him if I had to pick.
When it comes to Liyue's sacred traditions, the divinity is in the details. Even the most fastidious of academics don't claim to know them all. And yet, the mysterious funeral consultant, Zhongli, seems to know them like the back of his hand.
Zhongli.
The ancient rite of parting is a most unique tradition. Many details have been lost over time, but Zhongli is still able to perform the rite to perfection. Though he looks young, Zhongli knows each ancient tradition inside out. But his own past is shrouded in mystery.
Every journey has its final day. Don't rush.
Zhongli excels at manipulating Geo, able to create and absorb Geo matter, and provide sturdy shields for his allies. This, paired with his exceptional ability in combat, makes him a reliable member of your party. Zhongli seems to know everything about everything, even a simple chunk of white iron ore. He is able to pick out the best ore and use it to maximum effectiveness. When forging polearms, Zhongli recovers a set percentage of the ores used. Zhongli's normal attack can combo up to 6 strikes, dealing physical damage to enemies. Hold the attack button to consume a set amount of stamina and lunge forward, casting down stone spears across Zhongli's path, dealing significant physical damage to enemies. Tap Zhongli's elemental skill to summon the geo-energy from within the ground, and form a stone steel, dealing area of effect geo damage to enemies. While the stone steel remains, it will periodically resonate with nearby geo constructs, dealing continuous geo damage to surrounding enemies. You can take advantage of this in battle. Draw enemies affected by other elements towards the stone steel to both deal geo damage and cause crystallize reactions. Use the elemental shield created by crystallize to help your party survive. Stone steels can also be used to block enemy attacks, or climbed to traverse difficult terrain. Holding Zhongli's elemental skill causes geo-energy around him to explode, creating a Jade Shield and dealing area of effect geo damage. The Jade Shield absorbs damage. The amount absorbed scales with Zhongli's max HP and is higher against enemies' geo attacks.
It's like Noel.
If Zhongli is surrounded by targets affected by geo, it will drain a large amount of geo energy from up to 2 of them. This effect does not deal damage, but can effectively break down enemies' geo armor and nearby ore deposits. After unlocking the talent Resonant Waves, when the Jade Shield takes damage, it will fortify your character, allowing their shield to absorb more damage.
This is order.
Zhongli can bring a huge meteor crashing down, dealing massive geo damage and applying petrification to enemies caught near the impact site. Petrified enemies become immobilized. After unlocking the talent Dominance of Earth, Planet Befall deals additional damage to enemies, which scales with Zhongli's max HP. Zhongli maintains his composure, even as he metes out punishment in battle. His exceptional ability to provide support and deal damage makes him quite prepared for any scenario.
No kidding.
As the fight begins, first use Zhongli's elemental skill to summon a stone steel and draw enemies near it, creating the ideal environment for dealing damage. Next, create a Jade Shield to absorb incoming damage. Then, alternate normal and charged attacks, stringing together attacks to deal enormous damage. When energy is full, unleash an elemental burst and coordinate your party's attacks to wipe out the enemy.
Finish him
While
off.
Liyue Harbor grows restless on the eve of disaster, as the host of the Rite of Parting, Zhongli still calmly goes about his work. The world around him may be descending into chaos, yet he remains unperturbed, sipping his tea and watching a good show. Quite the fascinating character. As Liyue faces the turbulence of change, does he believe it is none of his business? Or is he also a player in this game, acting behind the scenes? It may be some time before the answers finally emerge. But no matter, for time is not something I lack.
Pretty cool character, although he forgot to mention one thing. He's also filthy rich. Apparently that was like apparent in the character demo.
The city of pastorals, Mondstadt, is as free as the wind. Even an outsider like Albedo can become chief alchemist of the Knights of Favonius. But on the other hand, his mastery of alchemy means that no one ever would have taken much persuading. Mondstadt was never a nation known for its alchemy, but since Albedo's arrival, the Knights' achievements in the field sit only behind those of Sumeru's top scholars. Knights and academics. Not two words that one would expect to hear in the same sentence.
Got another Geo.
Instead of leading the charge in combat, the calm and collected Albedo is better suited to providing support with reliable geo damage. Still, his skill set allows him to deal powerful attacks,
Excuse me?
meaning he more than holds his own on the battlefield. Creation is the basis of alchemy. Albedo's knowledge allows him to find ways to improve crafting recipes and make better use of materials. When crafting weapon ascension materials, he has a chance of doubling the crafting output.
It's 10%, but
Albedo's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes with his sword. Holding the attack button consumes a certain amount of stamina and performs 2 swift forward slashes. Tap his elemental skill to create a solar isotoma using alchemy, dealing area of effect geodamage. A field is created around the solar isotoma. Periodically, when an enemy within the field takes damage, a transient blossom is generated at the enemy's location. The transient blossom scales off Albedo's defense, dealing AoE geodamage to surrounding enemies.
that's a big
transient
area.
blossom can only be generated once every 2 seconds. Additionally, making contact with the solar isotoma causes geoenergy to accumulate, forming a crystallized platform that lifts the character up to a certain height. Only one platform can exist at a time.
Oh.
Strategic use of the crystallized platform lets you employ plunging attacks in battle, and helps you deal with enemies up above. When adventuring, hold Albedo's elemental skill to choose the solar isotoma's position.
There you
and
go.
use the crystallized platform to get past environmental obstacles more quickly. After unlocking the talent Calcite Might, transient blossoms deal extra damage against enemies with low health. Crystallized geoenergy bursts forth at Albedo's command, dealing AoE geodamage in front of Albedo. If Albedo's solar isotoma is still present on the battlefield, 7 fatal blossoms are generated in the solar isotoma field, which bloom aggressively, dealing AoE geodamage. After unlocking the talent Homuncular Nature, Albedo's elemental burst increases nearby party members' elemental mastery for a period of time. Albedo's skill set is a rare and invaluable asset in combat. Creative use of the solar isotoma greatly diversifies the battle, paving the party's way to certain victory. When the battle begins, create a solar isotoma with Albedo's elemental skill. As he and fellow party members attack enemies inside the solar isotoma field, transient blossoms appear and deal damage to enemies, while generating crystalline shields through elemental reactions. Solar isotoma also enables party members to unleash plunging attacks. When energy is full, have Albedo unleash an elemental burst, giving the whole party a performance boost with increased elemental mastery.
Dang. So I wonder if that's an elemental combo if you're in there.
No one can dispute Albedo's talent, but the source of the knowledge he possesses. It once brought about the destruction of a glorious nation. All that most people know of him is his title, Rite Prince, and that he gained his position in the Knights on recommendation from Alice the Adventurer. Beyond this, the young man is a stranger to them, a complete mystery, and the essence of his knowledge is equally unknown. But I know it well. It hails from Canrea, the art of chemia. Soil and chalk, the universe and earth, pure dust and the birth of human life. There is no mistaking it. I am content to watch most crises play out from the sidelines, but if Albedo were ever to make a single wrong move, I could not let myself ignore it.
Oh. But somebody knows your little secret. Yeah, once again, I wonder if you're in his isotoma, I wonder if that counts as like a elemental combo. Like if you use fire or any other ability in there. Because if that's the case, that's really good. Because that area is huge.
Given Liyue's present prosperity, it's only natural that the city's operational support should match its scale. For millennia, from the birth of the Liyue Qixing to its current roster of 7, they've all relied on the Yuehai Pavilion's secretary, the half-Qilin illuminated beast Ganyu, who assists the mortals in handling the most crucial matters.
She's a beast?
Although I detest deities, and have no liking for the Adepti who sign contracts with the Geo Archon, a person like Ganyu is still deserving of my respect.
My job is to honor my contract with Rex Lapis by looking out for the interests of all living things in Liyue.
It is said that when a Qilin is brought to fight, the sun will lose its light. Ganyu is a force to be reckoned with, an archer with an exceptional aptitude for aimed shots. Her mastery over cryo lends itself well to high damage burst attacks.
Oh, that's nice.
While her skills are of great help to her and her allies during combat.
Dang.
Through centuries of training, Ganyu's archery has reached the acme of perfection. She excels at not only using bows, but also making them. Though she no longer needs to fight on the front lines, she still knows bow and arrow like the back of her hand. While forging bow-type weapons, Ganyu recovers a set percentage of the ores used. Her normal attack can combo up to 6 consecutive shots, dealing physical damage to enemies. Charging the attack executes a more precise shot that deals increased damage. Based on its charge time, the shot generates different effects.
Oh, really?
Charge level 1 fires off an icy arrow that deals cryo damage.
Okay.
Charge level 2 fires off a frost flake arrow that deals cryo damage and blooms after hitting its target, dealing AoE cryo damage.
You got a timing
Frostflake
right.
arrow's power is best used against distant groups of enemies to maximize its effect. After unlocking the talent Undivided Heart, within a set period of time after shooting a Frostflake arrow, the next Frostflake arrow and its bloom will receive a crit rate bonus. Tap Ganyu's elemental skill to dash backward, leaving an Ice Lotus in her place that deals cryo damage and continuously taunts surrounding enemies, attracting them to attack it. When destroyed, or once its duration ends, it blooms profusely, dealing AoE cryo damage. Ice Lotus's endurance scales based on Ganyu's max HP. Dexterous use of Ice Lotus can effectively redirect enemy fire, creating a safe environment for Ganyu to dish out damage.
Blaze over!
That looks nuts.
Ganyu coalesces atmospheric frost to summon a sacred cryo pearl. While it's active, the sacred cryo pearl will continuously rain down shards of ice upon enemies within a set area, dealing cryo damage. Celestial Shower deals damage while serving as a reliable source of cryo that allows Ganyu's allies to trigger corresponding elemental reactions and further increase their damage output. After unlocking the talent Harmony Between Heaven and Earth with Ganyu in your party, all active party members within Celestial Shower's AoE gain a cryo damage bonus. As an archer, Ganyu knows to keep her enemies at a safe distance and avoid close quarters combat. A constant barrage of Frostflake arrows is what makes her strengths truly shine, leading her to victory. Ganyu can use her elemental skill to get out of harm's way and taunt her opponents, allowing her to then fire Frostflake arrows unbothered, dealing damage to groups of enemies from afar. When her energy is full, Ganyu can unleash her elemental burst to further increase her ability to deal damage. When facing more formidable foes together with her allies, Ganyu's ability to taunt and infuse enemies with cryo is an effective form of support for the whole party that allows for defeating enemies in one fell swoop.
How was
The
that?
Liyue Qixing has changed over generations. Centuries have passed in the blink of an eye. Ganyu's accompanied Liyue through many a storm, but Liyue Harbor itself, can this city really become a safe harbor for an Adeptus in the world of mortals? When the Geo-Archon Morax was alive, an Adeptus like Ganyu could find a sense of belonging in the human city. But at present, when the rite of parting has already marked his end, the loneliness of an inhuman living in the human world, will it take Ganyu over completely?
So I guess she is a beast because she's not a human, he said. And it looks like she's kind of frowned upon from people, from actual humans. Definitely doesn't look like a beast of any kind. As far as her abilities, I really like her, once again, I'm calling it ultimate, but The giant spear with the ice coming down, that's really nice. And then the lotus, that's a good distraction. It's always good to have the enemies distracted so you can pull off your other character's moves. She seems pretty cool as well.
Many fell in the Archon War, but though their life force faded, their power and malice survived as remnants, posing a continued threat to the world. In Liyue, the task of ending this threat, or rather, enduring it, falls to Xiao. To most in Liyue, Xiao is a name seldom heard, and as the few who have seen him can attest, he appears only when grave danger is nigh. Coming across this Adeptus, should one count their blessings or their curses?
Conquering demons is what I do.
Hailed as the conqueror of demons, Xiao's abilities are unparalleled among the Adepti. As such, he vanquishes demons without breaking a sweat. Xiao is agile. His movement skills allow him to dart around the battlefield, and when he dons the mask of the Yaksha, his abilities are enhanced even further, as he purges evil and protects Liyue.
Oh my god, how many times can you do that?
After years of honing his abilities, Xiao has developed an Adeptus art that affords him strength at high altitudes. When Xiao is in the party, the active character consumes less stamina while climbing.
Oh, that's nice.
Xiao's normal attack can combo up to 6 strikes, dealing physical damage to enemies. Holding the attack button causes Xiao to consume stamina and perform an upward thrust, dealing physical damage and lifting enemies into the air.
Oh, that's different.
While airborne, press attack to perform a plunging attack, striking enemies on the way down and dealing AoE damage upon landing.
Wouldn't that kill you?
Xiao will not lose HP from a plunging attack, no matter how high he starts. Use Xiao's elemental skill to lunge forward, dealing anemo damage to enemies in his path. Make adept use of this skill to dart effortlessly around the battlefield, dealing damage while tactically adjusting your position. Also, lemniscatic wind cycling can be used while airborne, making it easy for Xiao to navigate challenging terrain, aiding with exploration.
Oh, you can do it twice?
Lemniscatic wind cycling starts with 2 charges available.
Let me shut up.
After unlocking the talent Dissolution Eon Heaven Fall, if Xiao uses multiple charges in quick succession, damage dealt increases with each one.
Evil conquering!
When Xiao unleashes an elemental burst, he dons the Yaksha's mask that once struck fear into gods and demons alike. His attacks now deal anemo damage, which cannot be overridden by another elemental infusion. And Xiao's attack AoE and damage are both increased. In addition, Xiao's jumping ability is greatly enhanced, allowing him to assail the enemy with plunging attacks.
Dang.
The Yaksha's mask brings enormous power, but also great suffering. During Xiao's elemental burst, he will continually lose HP. This effect stops if he leaves the field. After unlocking the talent Conqueror of Evil, Tamer of Demons, while Bane of All Evil is active, Xiao's damage gradually increases. When Xiao goes into battle, danger follows in his wake. To avoid harming others, he acts quickly, completing the task at hand as efficiently as possible. As the fight begins, Xiao uses his elemental skill to move rapidly around the battlefield, changing strategic positions, dealing damage as he goes, and building up energy. When his energy is full, he unleashes his elemental burst and harnesses the power of the Yaksha's mask to incapacitate the enemy with plunging attacks and finish off every last one.
Ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
For millennia, tales of the Yakshas have been told in Liyue. But over time, these defenders of the masses have all but disappeared. Only Xiao still honors his contract with the Geo-Archon by performing the duties assigned to him, though the cost of this duty is perpetual solitude. I know that Adepti suffer heartache just as I do, but I cannot know Xiao's future. Will Shao be ravaged by the unending war he wages and be plunged into despair? Or will he meet someone who understands his sacrifice and can shine a ray of light into his dark world?
Well, I greatly have underestimated Animo. I'll say that. He seems absolutely insane. However, I wasn't expecting it, but he actually does have a catch where he looks like he loses health the more he damages people. Or unless, like, as soon as he puts the mask on, he starts to lose health. He seems like way too powerful, so for there to be such a severe catch like that, I understand that. That's definitely somebody I hope I can get. Oh my god.
The people of Liyue value tradition, and their traditions are embodied in all manner of rites. Of these, the rites that mark life's end are of utmost importance. Liyue's funeral rites are complex, and only Wangsheng Funeral Parlor can conduct them to the satisfaction of all. Wangsheng has stood for 77 generations and has gained still greater fame in recent years, thanks to their eccentric young director, Hu Tao.
When the sun's out, bathe in sunlight. But when the moon's out, bathe in moonlight.
Hu Tao manipulates pyro with ease and can sacrifice her HP to increase her damage output, cleansing the world of impurities with an unrelenting flame.
It's risky.
When Hu Tao cooks a dish perfectly, she has a chance to obtain a suspicious dish of the same kind.
Suspicious
Hu
dish.
Tao's normal attack can combo up to 6 strikes, dealing physical damage to enemies. Hu Tao's charged attack consumes a set amount of stamina to lunge forward, dealing physical damage to enemies in her path. Hu Tao also has a unique effect when sprinting, allowing her to briefly disappear and pass through certain small foes.
Oh.
Hu Tao consumes part of her HP to cast her elemental skill, knocking nearby enemies back and entering the Paramita Papilio state. This converts her attack damage to pyro damage, which cannot be overridden by another elemental infusion. Her resistance to interruption is also increased, and she receives an attack increase based on her max HP when entering this state. Paramita Papilio ends after a set duration, or when Hu Tao leaves the field. After unlocking the talent Flutterby, ending Paramita Papilio increases the crit rate of all of Hu Tao's party members other than herself for a set duration. Moreover, while Paramita Papilio is in effect, Hu Tao's charged attacks apply the Blood Blossom effect to enemies it hits. Enemies affected by Blood Blossom will take pyro damage at set intervals. This effect automatically expires after a while. Only one Blood Blossom can exist on any one target at a time, and only Hu Tao can refresh its duration. Wangsheng has a long heritage. It's said that their directors passed down a secret technique to traverse between life and death. Unafraid in the face of death, they instead unleash yet greater power. Once the talent Sanguine Rouge is unlocked, Hu Tao gains a pyro damage bonus when her HP is low.
Pyre, pants on fire!
Hu Tao commands a blazing spirit to deal pyro damage in a large AoE. When her elemental burst hits enemies, Hu Tao regenerates a certain percentage of her max HP.
That's
a
good.
maximum of 5 enemies can affect this percentage.
Oh, gosh.
Additionally, using this skill when Hu Tao's HP is low deals greater damage and regenerates more HP.
1,000 damage?
Hu Tao's unique fighting style often imperils her. As such, she must coordinate with her teammates and choose the right moment to use her skills and manage her HP. Hu Tao often begins by using her elemental skill to enter the Paramita Papilio state. Then she alternates between normal and charged attacks to deal pyro damage. applying blood blossoms onto enemies. She then leaves the field, using the crit rate increase from Flutterby to increase her teammates' damage output.
Right.
When Hu Tao's HP is low, she can choose a group of enemies upon which to unleash her elemental burst, dealing pyro damage and regenerating her HP. Wangsheng Funeral Parlor conducts rites of utmost solemnity, and its staff are used to speaking little, making Hu Tao's liveliness seem an ill fit. Her elders once criticized her mischief-making, but having seen her immaculate conduct of the parlor's affairs, they could do naught but admit their error. Life and death are but two halves of an endless cycle. Life leads unto death, and death unto new life. Why then should death be taboo? Hu Tao has had the wisdom to see this, though some of her elders have yet to do so.
This is an interesting backstory. If I heard that correctly, one of her moves causes her to lose health, and then the next move actually makes her gain health back. So at least there's a good trade-off there. And then the crit for the other characters is also pretty good too.
Mondstadt's Church of Favonius has a very unique sister, Rosaria. Despite being a priestess, she has never been witnessed offering prayers to the gods. Swift of foot and aloof in speech, she becomes active in the darkness of Mondstadt's night. She belongs to a clandestine side of Mondstadt, brandishing sharp blades under the moonlight to strike down intruding shadows. In exchange for the people's freedom and peace, the non-believer is tasked with purging the filth that no light will touch. City blessed by the Animo Archon. Sleep soundly.
Pray, not for the gods nor the betterment of others, but for yourself.
Rosaria has powerful one-on-one combat capabilities, and as a wielder of a cryovision, her elemental burst can provide continuous cryo damage, assisting the party with damage output and field control. When Rosaria is in the party, she increases the movement speed of party members during nighttime. This effect cannot be applied in domains, trounce domains, or the spiral abyss. Rosaria's normal attack performs up to 5 consecutive strikes, dealing physical damage to enemies. Holding the attack button allows Rosaria to consume a certain amount of stamina to lunge forwards, dealing physical damage to enemies in her path. Tapping Rosaria's elemental skill swiftly positions her behind her opponent. She then pierces and slashes the enemy with her polearm, dealing cryo damage.
That's really good.
Ravaging Confession can be used to quickly approach an enemy, identify an advantageous position, and launch your assault.
For that reason right there.
It can also be used to dodge enemy attacks, allowing you to turn the tide of battle. It is important to note that Rosaria cannot use this ability to move behind larger enemies. After unlocking the talent Regina Probation, whenever Rosaria strikes an enemy from behind with Ravaging Confession, her crit rate will increase for a short period of time.
Lights out.
For her elemental burst, Rosaria swings her polearm around her, striking all nearby foes. An icy lance of coalesced frost then strikes the ground, dealing cryo damage. While the ice lance is present, it will intermittently emit a freezing chill, dealing cryo damage to nearby enemies.
Oh, and it freezes
Strategically utilizing the ice lance through elemental reactions allows party members to control or inflict even greater damage upon enemies. After unlocking the talent Shadow Samaritan, when Rosaria uses Rites of Termination, all party members except for Rosaria receive a temporary increase to their crit rate based on Rosaria's own crit rate. Rosaria, throwing herself into battle, turns daytime idleness into the biting blades of winter that plunge into the bones of the guilty. As the battle begins, coordinate attacks with the other characters in your party, and use elemental skills to trigger elemental reactions. At the same time, quickly shift behind the enemy and follow up with normal attacks. When Rosaria's energy is full, use her elemental burst to inflict continuous cryo damage, then leave the field. Use the crit rate increase from the talent Shadow Samaritan to assist the other party members in swiftly defeating foes.
How's that guy alive? Okay.
Mondstadt's nights are peaceful and tranquil, but in the quiet of the dark, there are those who glimpse a flash of cold steel. This is the dour sister who metes out punishment to protect this place of peace and the sisters who are purity incarnate. Unperturbed with dirtying her hands, she has become a blood-soaked executioner. And having witnessed the cruelty of this world, she can no longer close her eyes and extol the blessings of the gods. Rosaria, the most unique sister in Mondstadt's Church of Favonius, never needed redemption from the gods, for she grasped it with her own hands.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I might have been distracted during that trailer. Anyways, I do like the how she can teleport behind people. I just wish she could teleport behind the bigger enemies, because that was a perfect example they showed with the guy with the big shield. They are so annoying, you know. You have to constantly burn their shield to get by them, but it'd be really cool if you could just go right behind them.
Liyue is both the nation of contracts and the beating heart of trade in Tevat.
Is everybody from Liyue?
Its laws are rigorous and exhaustive, serving as pillars of order in a fluid population. But those able to memorize and abide by all the laws of the land number few indeed. Accordingly, when civil disputes and criminal proceedings arise, the first point of call for many is Liyue Harbor's famed legal advisor, Yanfei.
Only by adhering to the law can the people solve life's myriad of problems.
Honored as Liyue's top legal expert, Yanfei knows the law like the back of her hand, as well as how to bend it, balancing legality and humanity. Her expertise routinely resolves the most intractable of disputes. But if confronted by those who act with flagrant disregard for the law, it is Yanfei's command of fire and flame that will place them in jeopardy. As Liyue's most sought-after legal advisor, Yanfei provides legal support across the whole of Liyue, which has allowed her to explore many of its hidden corners. Having mastered the legal codices, she is well versed in the various local specialties traded by the waterfront. When Yanfei is in the party, the location of resources unique to Liyue appear on the minimap, making it easier to gather certain items. Yanfei's normal attack casts a fireball and can be comboed to deal up to 3 rounds of pyro damage. Hitting an enemy with a normal attack grants Yanfei a single Scarlet Seal. She can possess a maximum of 3 Scarlet Seals at a time. Gaining a new Scarlet Seal resets the duration of existing seals. Each Scarlet Seal decreases Yanfei's stamina consumption, and they will disappear when she leaves the field. Holding the attack button consumes a set amount of stamina and releases a charged attack, dealing AoE pyro damage in the area in front of her. Any Scarlet Seals held by Yanfei are consumed when a charged attack is released, and the AoE and damage of this attack are increased based on the number of Scarlet Seals consumed. After unlocking the talent Proviso, when Yanfei consumes Scarlet Seals with a charged attack, each Scarlet Seal will increase Yanfei's pyro damage bonus for a set period. If she uses a charged attack again during this period, it will end the effect. Yanfei's sharp eyes and keen wits aid her in singling out opportunists and lawbreakers, whilst the adeptal power that resides within her helps when it comes to serving out justice. After unlocking the talent Blazing Eye, when Yanfei's charged attacks deal crit hits, she will deal an additional bout of AoE pyro damage. Tap Yanfei's elemental skill to summon Blistering Flames that deal AoE pyro damage. Hitting an enemy with her elemental skill grants Yanfei the maximum number of Scarlet Seals.
She broke the tree.
Which she can use to unleash a follow-up charged attack, keeping the ball firmly in her court.
Inadmissible evidence!
Unleashing Yanfei's elemental burst triggers a spray of intense flames that rush at nearby enemies, dealing AoE pyro damage. and granting her the maximum number of Scarlet Seals, as well as applying Brilliance to her. Brilliance grants Yanfei a Scarlet Seal at fixed intervals. It also increases the damage dealt by her charged attacks. Adept use of Brilliance allows Yanfei to increase her Scarlet Seal accumulation rate and string together charged attacks, dealing greater damage to her enemies. Yanfei's Flaming Seals are a powerful legal instrument, and her terms of use ensure that they bolster her position in any form of dispute. By first accumulating Scarlet Seals, then following with an enhanced charged attack, Yanfei can rule decisively on any case before her. During battle, Yanfei can alternate between normal attacks and her elemental skill to deal pyro damage to enemies, and gain Scarlet Seals. With Scarlet Seals in her possession, Yanfei can release powerful charged attacks to put the enemy on the back foot. When Yanfei's energy is full, unleash her Elemental Burst to further increase her damage output. At this stage, Yanfei needs only to release regular charged attacks to rout her enemies once and for all.
Yeah.
Yanfei was born during Liyue's peacetime. Though part illuminated beast, she never signed a contract with the Geo Archon. Unconstrained by Adepti responsibility, she keeps herself busy in the city, experiencing all manner of worldly affairs, comprehending all levels of human emotion. In her hands, the legal codices are a contract, a tool, a framework of reason, but never a cage. She longs for a free-spirited life well within the confines of the law, but each detail of the cumbersome legal codices is also dear to her heart. Perhaps one day, a balance can be struck between them.
Hopefully. Yeah, she's really cool just off the fact that, you know how Lisa can just use her elemental skill, like she just uses electric abilities? I don't know if this is the very first character in this game to have the same ability, but with fire or pyro. But just off the fact of that's like really cool, because I've never seen that before. And if I heard that right, I believe she's not human either, even though they definitely look like they're human, but you know.
Ever since the first night of Favonius rid herself of her chains, the winds of freedom have carried the fight against oppression into every corner of Mondstadt. Yet today, among the ranks of the knights sworn to champion freedom, there walks a descendant of the former tyrannical aristocracy. Eula, the progeny of an infamous lineage with vengeance always on her lips, is the captain of the Knights of Favonius Reconnaissance Company, the Spindrift Knight, supremely skilled with her blade. Her controversial heritage leaves many wondering why the Knights would accept her. Perhaps because the songs of freedom woven into the Mondstadt winds first asked, why not?
Ready for reconnaissance.
Why not?
Naturally, Eula earned her captaincy with her superior capabilities, masterfully combining Favonia's blade work with cryomagic. She forms frost at the tip of her blade, which she wields with the cadence of a dancer. Waltzing gracefully into battle, she then strikes like a crashing wave. Eula derives no additional status in Mondstadt from her once noble lineage, but finds herself the victim of a strict and outmoded education. She dismisses what she was taught as pointless pretension, yet is unable to escape its influence entirely, often subjecting herself to meticulous introspection. When Eula crafts talent level up materials, she has a chance to double the output, boosting the party's adventure readiness. Eula's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes that deal physical damage to enemies.
Put them into the ground.
Holding the attack steadily consumes stamina, while Eula unleashes a rapid string of slashes, also dealing physical damage. When her charged attack ends, she unleashes a powerful strike that launches smaller enemies within her range. Tap Eula's elemental skill Ice-Tide Vortex to perform a rapid slash that deals cryo damage.
It's like Bennett.
When the slash hits an enemy, Eula gains 1 stack of Grimheart.
But ice.
The effect has a maximum of 2 stacks. Grimheart increases Eula's resistance to interruption in her defense, creating optimal conditions for her to dish out damage. Holding Ice-Tide Vortex causes Eula to consume all stacks of Grimheart. and perform a spinning frontal slash that deals AoE cryo damage. If this attack consumes Grimheart stacks, it will decrease the physical and cryo resistance of surrounding enemies. Each stack of Grimheart consumed will convert to an Ice Whirl brand, dealing cryo damage to nearby enemies.
Flood of Frost!
Eula's elemental burst unleashes a mighty slash of her sword, dealing cryo damage to surrounding enemies and forming a Lightfall sword that follows her around. While the Lightfall sword is present, Eula's resistance to interruption is increased further. Additionally, when enemies are damaged by Eula's normal attack, elemental skill, or elemental burst, the Lightfall sword's energy is charged. When its duration ends, the Lightfall sword will descend and explode violently, dealing physical damage to surrounding enemies. The damage dealt increases with the Lightfall sword's charge stack. When Eula leaves the field, the Lightfall sword will instantly explode. After unlocking the talent Roiling Rime, when Eula holds Ice-Tide Vortex, if 2 stacks of Grimheart are consumed together, a shattered Lightfall sword is created and explodes immediately, dealing half the base physical damage of the Lightfall sword. Years of reconnaissance company campaigns have honed Eula's instinct for launching surprise offensives. When she strikes, waves of frost and rays of light surge forth like ocean spray. After unlocking the talent Wellspring of Warlust, casting Eula's Elemental Burst immediately grants 1 stack of Grimheart and resets the cooldown of her elemental skill. The Spindrift Knight's battleground is the shadows far beyond Mondstadt's city walls. Eula's strength is in hunting down her enemy with courage and calculation, striking with her frosty Favonius Bladework. In combat, Eula often starts the offensive with her normal attack, interspersing her strikes with the tapping effect of her elemental skill to keep up the pursuit and accrue Grimheart stacks. Next, holding her elemental skill at an opportune moment will deal damage to her enemy, while also reducing their physical and cryo resistance by consuming the Grimheart stacks. When Eula's energy is full, unleashing her elemental burst puts further pressure on the enemy and creates a Lightfall sword. Now is the time for a rapid offensive. To charge the Lightfall sword and finally take down the enemy when it explodes. There are those with hatred in their hearts that are able to do what Eula has done. Take the lust for vengeance bequeathed to them by fate and channel it into a force for self-advancement. For Eula, this has set her down a path of peace and inner strength. Still, there are others for whom the passage of time does nothing to quell the poison spreading through their souls. Only the future will reveal the path they take, but inevitably, it will be a different one.
Yeah, it seems nice, but just like once again, kind of just one-dimensional. You know, maybe I don't know. I shouldn't be judging characters, but yeah, as far as our abilities, just seems pretty straightforward. Now, as far as looks go,
no one is sure when they first noticed it, but once in a while, from the deck of the Alcor, flagship of the heavily armed Crux fleet, the soft sound of a flute can be heard. Following the ocean breeze to wherever it may lead, trace the sound back to its source, and you will see a young samurai of Inazuma, calmly sitting in a crow's nest, playing a leaf flute while taking in the sights and sounds of the natural world. But ask the other sailors about his story, and you'll find they know little more than you. All they can tell you is, he is a trainee sailor from Inazuma. His name is Kaidahara Kazuha.
Come driving rain or winds that churn, I shall return by blade alone, armed, if barefoot, to my home.
Kaidahara.
Many look at Kaidahara Kazuha and see but a young face. What they miss is a swift and deadly samurai wanderer who is not to be taken lightly. Kaidahara Kazuha has the ability to manipulate animo and provides an elemental damage bonus for members of his party. Also, with his elemental skill, he can make frequent use of special plunging attacks that keep enemies grouped together, providing great support to his party. Like a leaf on the breeze, he is light as a feather and swift as a blade. When Kaidahara Kazuha is in your party, he reduces sprinting stamina consumption for your party members, making exploration faster. Kazuha's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes that deal physical damage to enemies. Hold the attack button to consume a set amount of stamina, and perform 2 swift slashes to his front, dealing high physical damage. While Kazuha is airborne, pressing the attack button causes him to perform a plunging attack, damaging opponents along the path and dealing AoE damage upon impact. Tap his elemental skill, miHoYo, to unleash a secret blade technique, pulling enemies and objects toward him, launching enemies within his range, and dealing animo damage. Kazuha uses the gust of wind generated in this moment to soar up into the air. For a short period after using miHoYo, while Kazuha remains airborne, he can unleash a powerful plunging attack, Midare Ranzan. The damage dealt by this plunging attack is converted to animo damage. When Kazuha lands, he uses another secret blade technique to create a wind tunnel that pulls in nearby enemies and objects. With this effect, Kazuha can concentrate enemies in one place, allowing other party members to attack more efficiently. miHoYo is a skill that can be used while airborne, giving Kazuha great agility when out exploring.
That's how you get those.
When miHoYo is held instead of tapped, Kazuha deals increased animo damage over a wider area.
There you go.
After unlocking the talent Soulmoon Swordsmanship, Kazuha's elemental skill can absorb Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, or Electro when cast. If a Midare Ranzan plunging attack is performed before miHoYo's effects expire, it deals additional elemental damage of the absorbed element. Only one elemental absorption can occur per miHoYo.
Clouds hide. The birds call.
Kaidahara Kazuha's elemental burst is the pinnacle achievement of his self-taught blade work. He strikes with the force of the first winds of autumn, dealing AoE animo damage. This attack produces a field called Autumn Whirlwind. The field periodically deals animo damage to enemies within it. If Autumn Whirlwind comes into contact with Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, or Electro, it will absorb that element and deal additional elemental damage. This elemental absorption may only occur once in its duration. Kazuha can use the Autumn Whirlwind field to easily affect multiple enemies with an element, creating ideal opportunities for his allies to attack. The wind blows to all within its vast reach and knows the coming fall from the first withered leaf. For a set duration after Kazuha triggers a swirl reaction, all party members receive a damage bonus for the corresponding element. The bonus scales off of Kazuha's elemental mastery. If multiple elemental damage bonuses are gained in this manner, they are applied concurrently. Kaidahara Kazuha has roamed far and wide and is acutely sensitive to changes in the natural environment. When the way ahead is rocky, his mastery of animo allows him to swiftly turn the tide of the battle, guiding the whole party to victory. In combat, he coordinates closely with his teammates to apply elements to enemies. Then, he uses his elemental skill to gain control over the opponents, following up here and there with powerful plunging attacks to keep them where he wants them, while also activating Poetics of Fubutsu, which provides elemental damage bonuses, enhancing the whole party's attack capabilities. When energy is full, Kaidahara Kazuha unleashes his elemental burst, generating an Autumn Whirlwind field. The field creates the perfect conditions for elemental reactions, turning your party into a force to be reckoned with. Kaidahara Kazuha is no aimless wanderer. He has a deep sense of purpose. The young samurai left his homeland behind not to part with the past, but in the search for a new hope. As he navigates his path, he charts a course through the myriad of storms that come his way. His exposure to the elements keeps him in touch with nature and connects him with other people who cross his path. Those who choose to defy the gods are destined for hardship, but even a maple leaf blowing in the breeze, if it falls into the right company, can learn to sail the storm winds of the sea to shores beyond the horizon.
It seems pretty nice too. I didn't expect the difference between just hitting your E skill and holding it. That's actually a big difference. And then I think you need a skill to take the element and implement it into the ultimate or into the skill. And then his elemental burst just looks really cool. I mean, it just aesthetically, it looks really cool. And then you can take different elemental skills too. So that's pretty cool.
In Inazuma City, the Shirasagi Himegimi is a name known to all. Those fortunate enough to meet Kamisato Ayaka in person describe her as the princess of the Kamisato clan. Graceful and dignified as a snow crane, but kind and gentle like a dove. She brings joy and hope to everyone she meets. The other half of perfection is, of course, martial prowess. So when Kamisato Ayaka draws her blade and assumes a fighting stance, her opponent should beware.
Kamisato Ayaka, present.
You got a new style here. Okay.
A master of the Inazuman Kamisato art of Tachijutsu, Kamisato Ayaka has honed her blade work to the pinnacle of proficiency. She combines swift and agile strikes with the power of cryo to fight back against those of malicious intent. As the daughter of the Yashiro Commission's Kamisato clan, Ayaka is versed in a variety of art forms. Her expertise in the art of the sword includes knowledge of advanced weaponry. When Ayaka crafts weapon ascension materials, she has a certain chance to receive double the product. Ayaka's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes that deal physical damage to enemies.
Where is she?
The attack button consumes a set amount of stamina to perform the EI technique, unleashing a series of blade winds that deal physical damage to enemies.
Ooh.
When Ayaka sprints, she cloaks herself in frozen fog, consuming stamina to move as a rapid torrent.
That's cool.
While in her Senho state, Ayaka can travel swiftly over water.
That's freaking cool.
When she leaves Senho state and reappears, she applies the cryo element to nearby enemies.
Just like Mona.
Also, she will receive a cryo infusion for a short duration. The cryo infusion converts Kamisato Ayaka's attack damage to cryo damage. After unlocking the talent Kanten Senmyo Blessing, if the cryo energy released when exiting Kamisato Art Senho comes into contact with an enemy, Ayaka will regain some stamina. Additionally, she will gain a temporary cryo damage bonus. Proficient use of these skills allows Kamisato Ayaka to move freely around the battlefield, putting her in the strongest possible position. A flick of the wrist with the poise of a dancer, and frost goes flying.
Flick of the wrist.
Tapping Ayaka's elemental skill summons blooming ice, launching adjacent enemies and dealing AoE cryo damage. After unlocking the talent Amatsumi Kunitsumi Sanctification for a short duration after casting Kamisato Art Hyoka, Kamisato Ayaka's normal and charged attacks deal increased damage.
Kamisato Art, Sumetsu!
Kamisato Ayaka summons the frost with flawless poise, releasing a Frostflake Seki no To that travels forward. The Frostflake Seki no To is a storm of whirling icy winds that slashes repeatedly at enemies, dealing cryo damage and blooming at the end of its duration, dealing a further bout of AoE cryo damage.
Ugh.
Even in the heat of battle, Kamisato Ayaka is the picture of elegance. Her own bladework philosophy adds finesse to Kamisato Art's Tachijutsu. With the choreography of a crane in the snow, she defeats her foes in a dance of frost. When the battle begins, Ayaka enters her Senho state. then swiftly draws near to her enemies to launch her attack. The versatile range of cryo abilities at her disposal creates opportunities to coordinate with her teammates. She gains control over her enemies, then alternates between normal and charged attacks to take them down one by one. When energy is full, Kamisato Ayaka unleashes her elemental burst to deal further damage and clean up the field.
She is cryoed out.
When Inazuma locals discuss the Yashiro Commission, they are full of praise for Kamisato Ayaka's cordial manner and sincerity of speech at social gatherings. When the name Shirasagi Himegimi is uttered, it is done so in tribute to her flawless etiquette and impeccable character. But what can anyone know of how Ayaka views herself in her innermost being? As the princess of the Yashiro Commission's Kamisato clan, Ayaka shoulders her family's duty to cherish the aspirations of ordinary people. But she also has dreams of her own that she holds dear. Perhaps the thing that she really needs is a companion on her journey, with whom to share a pot of tea and to play a game of Go. And with whom to stand shoulder to shoulder when it comes time to draw her blade.
Another character that I like a lot right there. Anybody who can do like that underground movement thing, that's like so cool to me. But she seems really cool. Like I said, she seems like cryoed out. Like everything she does relates to cryo. And what I mean by that is like it freezes people no matter what. Not everything, but most things. And her elemental burst is just, that just looks brutal. That just looks absolutely nasty.
If you ever make it to Inazuma and ask the locals what to see while you're there, nearly everyone you talk to will emphatically recommend a fireworks display. Like shooting stars in reverse, they fly up into the night, then burst into color, illuminating the sky and sea and the faces of those watching below. This short but dazzling spectacle is all the work of one woman, Inazuma's most skilled fireworks expert, Yoimiya.
Let me give this shooting fireworks straight into the skies with a bow business a shot.
In Yoimiya's capable hands, her spectacular fireworks are not just the grand finale of a festival. They also make highly potent weapons for protecting her friends and fighting her foes. And no one has a flair for fighting with fireworks quite like her. Yoimiya's handiwork is exquisite, and she dabbles in many other crafts besides firework making, always adding her unique touch to all her work. When Yoimiya crafts decorations, ornaments, and landscape furnishings, a portion of the materials used will be refunded.
That's in the game? What?
Her normal attack can combo up to 5 consecutive shots, dealing physical damage. Holding the attack button executes a more precise aimed shot that deals increased damage. Based on the charge time, the aimed shot generates different effects. Charge level 1 fires off a flaming arrow that deals pyro damage. At charge level 2, depending on the exact charging time, the aimed shot generates up to 3 kindling arrows when she releases it. Kindling arrows home in on nearby enemies, dealing pyro damage. Tap Yoimiya's elemental skill and she waves a sparkler, causing a ring of saltpeter to surround her and sending her into the Niwabi Ensho state. During this time, arrows fired by Yoimiya's normal attack will be blazing arrows, increasing their damage and converting the attacks to pyro damage.
That's cool.
However, during Niwabi Ensho, Yoimiya's normal attack, Firework Flare-Up, will not generate kindling arrows at charge level 2.
Trade off.
After unlocking the talent Tricks of the Troublemaker, during Yoimiya's elemental skill duration, when her normal attack hits an enemy, she gains a stackable pyro damage bonus, which lasts for 3 seconds.
Here come the fireworks!
Yoimiya leaps into the air, together with her original creation, Ryukin Saxifrage, firing forth blazing rockets bursting with surprises that deal AoE pyro damage and mark one of the hit enemies with Aurous Blaze.
Aurous Blaze.
All attacks by any party member other than Yoimiya that hit an enemy marked by Aurous Blaze will trigger explosions, dealing AoE pyro damage.
Really?
If the enemy affected by Aurous Blaze is defeated before it expires, the effect will pass on to another nearby enemy who will inherit the remaining duration. Aurous Blaze explosions are subject to a short cooldown. After unlocking the talent Summer Night's Dawn, for a short duration after casting Yoimiya's elemental burst, nearby party members other than Yoimiya herself gain an attack bonus. This bonus is based on the number of Tricks of the Troublemaker stacks Yoimiya possesses when she unleashes her elemental burst. Armed with a pyro vision, Yoimiya has more than one way of playing with fire. This power takes her skills with the bow to another level, turning even her arrows into fireworks that send sparks flying all over the battlefield.
Say what?
In battle, Yoimiya begins by using her elemental skill to enter the Niwabi-Ensho state. Then she engages the enemy with enhanced normal attacks, using Tricks of the Troublemaker to stack up a pyro damage bonus. When Niwabi-Ensho ends, if her energy is full, she unleashes her elemental burst to further pressure the enemy, then leaves the field, supporting the rest of her team with an attack bonus and pyro damage, watching the enemy disappear in a dazzling display of light and smoke. As the explosions in the sky fade away, breathless spectators find their friends and leave. But Yoimiya is already busy preparing for the next display. It is a time-honored routine, unchanging night after night. And everyone in Inazuma looks forward to the splendid sight of her latest creations. After a brief moment, the dazzling flashes fade and the crowds are gone. After hundreds of years, this sight is nothing new to me. But who's to say that brief moments of splendor can't become everlasting memories? The god who pursues eternity has yet to realize that not all that endures is constant. Time can keep fireworks in people's minds long after they've faded. Just as, once in a while, it can send stars fixed high above, plummeting down to the ground.
He seems really fun character. Especially the enhanced normal abilities.
Ninjas are often portrayed moving under the veil of night, stealthily conducting their mission in the shadows. As such, people tend to let their imaginations regarding ninjas run wild, filching objects in a flash, vanishing without a trace, and laying poisonous traps. Such skills are necessary to be worthy of the ninja title. But in the eyes of Ninja Sayu, no matter how profound the art of ninjutsu may be, it is to be used but for a single purpose: slacking off. To this ninja who never passes on an opportunity to be lazy, the stirring of the leaves is not the opportune diversion to strike her enemy. Rather, it's a favorable time to slip away for a nice nap.
Sayu, Shumatsuban at your disposal. Phew. But if you don't need me right now, I'm gonna grab some sleep.
Sayu is the Shumatsuban's resident ninja, and the last successor of the Yuhu art. She uses the power of Animo to swiftly move across the battlefield, and wields a claymore much heavier than herself to protect her companions. As a master slacker, Sayu's most adept ninjutsu technique is the art of holding her breath. When Sayu is in the party, your characters can approach crystal flies, lizards, and other certain animals without startling them. Sayu's normal attack can combo up to 4 strikes, dealing physical damage to enemies. Holding the attack steadily consumes stamina, while Sayu spins her claymore, dealing physical damage to nearby enemies. Once Sayu stops spinning her blade, she unleashes a more powerful strike that launches smaller enemies within her range. Tap Sayu's elemental skill to perform a special ninjutsu technique of the Yuhu art, in which Sayu curls up and enters the Fufu windwheel state and rolls forward for a certain distance, smashing into opponents at high speed, dealing anemo damage. When the skill ends, Sayu performs a Fufu whirlwind kick, dealing AoE anemo damage. Holding her elemental skill casts Yuhu art Fuin Dash, causing Sayu to roll continuously in the Fufu windwheel state, increasing Sayu's resistance to interruption while within that state. During this time, Sayu can control the direction of her roll, and can cast the skill again to end her windwheel state early. Upon ending it, she unleashes a stronger version of the Fufu whirlwind kick, dealing a single instance of AoE anemo damage. The longer Sayu remains in her windwheel state, the longer the skill's cooldown will become. After holding her elemental skill and entering the windwheel state, if Sayu comes into contact with Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, or Electro, elemental absorption will occur, causing her to absorb that element and deal additional elemental damage of that type. Elemental absorption may only occur once per use of this skill. With adept use of Fufu windwheel state, Sayu can swiftly roll across the battlefield to trigger swirl reactions in tandem with other party members. In the open world, Sayu can make use of her Fufu windwheel to quickly cover distances, aiding with exploration.
Ninjutsu!
Unleash her elemental burst to deal anemo damage to nearby opponents, as well as heal all nearby party members. The amount of HP restored is based on Sayu's attack. Additionally, Sayu performs another ninjutsu technique of the Yuhu art, summoning Sayu's trusty helper, Muji Muji Daruma. At specific intervals, Muji Muji Daruma will take one of several actions based on the situation around it. If the HP of nearby characters is relatively high, it will attack a nearby opponent, dealing anemo damage. If there are nearby characters with HP below a certain percentage, it will heal the character with the lowest HP percentage left. The amount of HP restored is based on Sayu's attack. If there are no opponents nearby, then it will focus on healing characters, even if the characters already have relatively high percentages of HP. After unlocking the talent No Work Today, when Muji Muji Daruma heals a character, it will also heal a certain percentage of HP for other nearby characters on the battlefield. And when it attacks opponents, it will have an increased AoE.
Oh, really?
Perhaps in Sayu's heart, being neither eye-catching nor of extraordinary strength, she feels that her teammates are better suited for tackling the tasks at hand. In the meanwhile, Sayu can ensure they stay fit for combat. When Sayu triggers a swirl reaction on the battlefield, she will regenerate HP for your characters in the party and all nearby allied characters. Additionally, the amount of healing will also benefit from Sayu's elemental mastery. This effect can occur only once per set time period. Though it may seem that sleepy Sayu is always slacking off, she is still quite loyal to her commitments, or to put it another way, inescapable duties. She rolls nimbly across the battlefield, providing reliable support to her teammates. In combat, Sayu relies on her Fufu windwheel to move swiftly, quickly closing the distance on her enemies and crashing into them to trigger swirl reactions, while simultaneously providing healing for her team. When energy is full, Sayu can unleash her elemental burst to summon Muji Muji Daruma, whether it's to heal her teammates or to increase damage against her opponents. Muji Muji Daruma can adapt to the situation and protect Sayu's precious companions.
Oh, and it's healing him, too.
Striving for the dreams of your youthhood is an admirable thing indeed. Only by improving yourself can you face the vicissitudes of life. And when it comes to improving yourself, whether it's sharpening your combat skills or simply trying to grow taller, to the young, anything worth striving for is a truly valuable endeavor. Now that I think about it, I too was probably once that way. Naive, persistent, and untiring. I'm only joking, of course. I've long forgotten the happenings of hundreds of years ago.
You seem to know a lot about all these characters. Yeah, she seems really, really fun. Like, really fun. Being able to roll like that. What do you say? Fooey? That's what it was called. I don't mean to laugh at these names, but I couldn't help it. And I like how she can heal her characters. And it's just really funny to see, like, those small little characters wield these giant swords.
In the eyes of Inazumans, the Raiden Shogun is not only an archon, but also a symbol. She is their superior leader who embodies eternal thunder and radiance. Her Excellency, the almighty Narukami Ogosho, 1,000-year-old protector of Inazuma. Little do they know that the current ruler of Inazuma, the Raiden Shogun, residing high up in Tenshukaku, is no longer the same archon who emerged victorious from the Archon War.
The campaign begins.
1,000 years.
The Raiden Shogun is a martial artist in pursuit of perfection, with a sole goal of achieving eternity. No matter who stands in her way to eternal euthymia, they have no chance against the divine punishment that shines down with her bidding. It was the Raiden Shogun who originated the Inazuman art of sword and polearm, as well as a variety of blade forging techniques. When ascending swords and polearms, the amount of mora spent by the Raiden Shogun will be decreased. The Raiden Shogun's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes with her polearm, dealing physical damage. Holding the attack button consumes a set amount of stamina to perform an upward slash, dealing physical damage. Despite claiming to be detached from the mortal world, perhaps the Raiden Shogun still remembers her role as an archon. She accrues the aspirations of all living creatures for her chakra desiderata. When party members other than her use their elemental bursts, the Raiden Shogun will build up resolve stacks for chakra desiderata based on the energy cost of the bursts used. Then, use up all the resolve accrued to empower her next elemental burst. The resolve accrued by chakra desiderata will dissipate once the Shogun is out of combat for a set time. The exalted archon devoted to eternity. What caused her to stop in her tracks and listen to the wishes of her people? After unlocking the talent Wishes Unnumbered, the elemental orbs and particles collected by nearby party members will grant additional resolve for chakra desiderata once per set time period. Upon tapping her elemental skill, the Raiden Shogun unveils a shard of her euthymia, dealing electro damage to nearby opponents, and granting nearby party members the Eye of Stormy Judgment. When characters carrying it attack and deal damage to opponents, the Eye of Stormy Judgment will unleash a coordinated attack, dealing AoE electro damage. Whew. The characters who gained the Eye of Stormy Judgment will have their elemental burst damage increased, based on the energy cost of the elemental bursts unleashed.
Oh yeah.
Thanks to the Eye of Stormy Judgment, the Raiden Shogun can aid her teammates without being on the battlefield, boosting their offensive capabilities.
Now you shall perish!
Gathering truths unnumbered and the resolve of wishes uncounted, the Raiden Shogun unleashes the Musou no Hitotachi, dealing AoE electro damage, using Musou Ishin in combat for a certain duration afterward. The damage dealt by Musou no Hitotachi and Musou Ishin's attacks is based on the number of chakra desiderata's resolve stacks consumed when this skill is used. While using Musou Ishin in combat, the Shogun's normal, charged, and plunging attacks will be regarded as elemental burst damage, and will be infused with electro damage which cannot be overridden. When such attacks hit opponents, she will regenerate energy for all nearby party members.
Dang.
While in this state, the Raiden Shogun's resistance to interruption is increased, and she is immune to electro charge damage.
Oh.
After unlocking the talent Enlightened One, if the Shogun's energy recharge surpasses a certain value, the surplus energy recharge grants her a percentage-based electro damage bonus. and more energy restoration while in Musou Ishi. The Raiden Shogun can accelerate the elemental burst rotation of her party while making the elemental bursts of her teammates more powerful. Such a seasoned leader like her remains fearless in the face of any encounter. In combat, the Raiden Shogun can use the Eye of Stormy Judgment to help teammates in difficult fights. When her teammates unleash elemental bursts or collect elemental orbs or particles, the Shogun gains more resolve for Chakra Desiderata. Wait for an opportune moment to unleash Musou no Hitotachi to deal lethal damage to your enemies. And enter Musou Ishin to clean up the battlefield while regenerating energy for the whole party. To enable a round of elemental bursts that will strike foes down as fast as lightning. Neighboring the Dark Sea, Inazuma has witnessed many a war. For the pursuit of eternity and the prosperity of Inazuma, the Raiden Shogun stuck stubbornly to her path. But what let some bloom made others wither. There is no gain without the pain of loss. When facing their fears, Archons and mortals are all the same. Yet Archons are born arrogant. By attempting to grasp the heavenly principles, she brought a disaster upon mortals. Perhaps some may say that I'm overstating what happened, but I'm just speaking from experience after all.
That sword coming through her body? Yeah, I've seen that same shot in the character demo, and I do not want to spoil that for myself, so I'm going to wait and see what that's about. But as far as her abilities go, it seems like she has that circle that's going to boost everybody's elemental burst and make it a lot more powerful. Like you said, it's for like more difficult fights. So you probably want to use that when you're going up against like a really hard challenge. Maybe like if you're not that level yet, or if it's a hard fight. But she seems pretty clean as well. Horizon Zero Dawn?
If memory serves me right, the last time an Outlander visited Tibet was centuries ago. Imagine my surprise when I discovered yet another guest during my most recent travels. A machine hunter, an outcast of the Nora tribe. Oh my, I cannot wait to learn more about her and her abilities. Let's not dilly-dally and begin our research.
Aloy here. I don't know this world, but my arrows are sharp and my bow's ready.
Such an interesting
Based on my
collab.
observations, Aloy is highly proficient with a bow and arrow. She can limit her prey's mobility with the power of cryo, aiding companions in setting up ambushes. Rejected by her tribe since birth, Aloy gained her hunting prowess under the watchful eye of an experienced hunter. Like any successful adventurer, hunters never rush into danger. One must tactfully hide and wait to strike. When Aloy is in the party, animals that produce foul, raw meat, or chilled meat will not be startled when approached.
Yo. Ooh.
Aloy's normal attack deals physical damage and can combo up to 4 consecutive shots. For a more precise aimed shot with increased damage, hold the attack button. Aiming will also accumulate frost on the arrowhead, which will deal cryo damage once fully charged. Tap Aloy's elemental skill to throw a freeze bomb in the targeted direction that explodes on impact, dealing cryo damage. When it detonates, the bomb will split into chill water bomblets that explode on contact with opponents or after a short delay, dealing cryo damage. Such an ingenious blasting design. When a freeze bomb or chill water bomblet hits an opponent, the opponent's attack is reduced, and Aloy receives a coil stack, which increases her normal attack damage.
Jesus.
When she has 4 stacks, the coil effect is removed, and Aloy gains Rushing Ice for a set time period, which additionally increases her normal attack damage and converts her normal attack damage into cryo damage. While under the effect of Rushing Ice, Aloy cannot receive new coil stacks. Coil effects will be cleared once Aloy leaves the field for a set time. After unlocking the talent Combat Override, for a certain duration after gaining the coil effect, Aloy increases the attack of all party members. This effect cannot stack.
The hunt is on!
Aloy throws a power cell filled with cryo in the targeted direction, then detonates it with an arrow, dealing AoE cryo damage.
Thought so.
Explosive infused with elemental energy. Remarkable. If utilized in the right time and place, its effectiveness will be indisputable. A good hunter can deliver a decisive blow or hold their own during a long battle. After unlocking the talent Strong Strike, when Aloy is in the rushing ice state conferred by Frozen Wilds, her cryo damage bonus gradually increases. Aloy is a skilled hunter who moves with great precision, like a cat in pursuit of its prey. It'll be difficult to escape her attacks once she locks onto her target. Any foe can be conquered with the joint forces of her and her companions. In combat, Aloy often opens up with her freeze bomb and accumulates coil stacks while her teammates launch their attacks. Once an opponent is hit by a freeze bomb or chill water bomblet, the party's attack will be increased thanks to the Combat Override talent. When Aloy reaches 4 coil stacks, she enters the rushing ice state. This makes her arrows even more lethal as they'll pierce enemies with biting frost.
Ooh.
Combine this with the talent Strong Strike to constantly increase Aloy's cryo damage during rushing ice. When her energy is full, Aloy unleashes her elemental burst that wipes out opponents in the target area.
Yes, sir.
I hope you found my research as informative as I did. As a sorceress, I love making new discoveries, examining all kinds of otherworldly things, and using that knowledge to create something new. Maybe Aloy and I are more alike than it may seem. Though she plays so many roles in her homeworld, Aloy begins her journey into Vat with a clean slate. She'll get to know new places, meet new companions, and reconsider what her homeland means to her. With her survival skills, adventuring into Vat should be a breeze. If only she'd let me tinker with her bombs a little.
Such an interesting crossover. That's not what I would expect. And I hope that there's some sort of crossover that circles back to Horizon Zero Dawn in some way. Probably not, but very, very interesting crossover, and it's really cool how they did that. I like that a lot. And I wonder how she's implemented into the game. Like, I wonder if you find her in the quest or, like, you know, how she appears. But that's really cool how they did that. And also her abilities seem pretty cool as well. Like being able to just freeze people, throwing bombs at them. Like, I hope we see more crossovers, but it's going to be really hard to like find the right character, you know.
The Tengu of Inazuma dwell in the mountain forests, rarely appearing in human society. To live among humans as Kujo Sara does, not to mention serve as their army general, is almost unheard of. One wonders if, in her eyes, the profound seclusion of the densely wooded mountains and the eternity pined for by the Raiden Shogun bear any similarity to each other.
I will lead us to victory.
Who is this?
As general of the Tenryo Commission, Kujo Sara is a fearless warrior and a formidable leader. As one of Tengu blood, she can summon the mighty power of Tengu Jurai to rouse her troops, as she leads them into the heat of battle. The Tengu are known for their agility, and Kujo Sara knows Inazuma exceptionally well, as her role requires her to move around frequently and rapidly. When Kujo Sara is dispatched on an expedition in Inazuma, she completes the task in a reduced time. Kujo Sara's normal attack can combo up to 5 consecutive shots, dealing physical damage. Holding the attack button executes a more precise shot that deals increased damage. While aiming, crackling lightning accumulates on the arrowhead. An arrow fully charged with the storm's might will deal electro damage to enemies on impact. When Kujo-Sara casts her elemental skill, she retreats rapidly with the speed of a Tengu, then summons the protection of the Crow Feather in the form of Crow Feather Cover. When Kujo-Sara fires a fully charged aimed shot, Crow Feather Cover is consumed, and a Crow Feather is left where the arrow strikes. After a short duration, the Crow Feather triggers Tengu Jurai Ambush, which deals electro damage to enemies in its AoE, and grants the active character within its AoE an attack bonus, based on Kujo-Sara's base attack. Skilled use of this technique allows Kujo-Sara to rapidly evade enemy attacks, and also set the stage for a robust counterattack from an advantageous position. After unlocking the talent Immovable Will, after gaining Crow Feather Cover by casting her elemental skill, Kujo-Sara's aimed shots reach full charge more quickly. Kujo-Sara is an intelligent and capable general. Troop morale is all the stronger just for knowing she is in command. After unlocking the talent Decorum, when Tengu Jurai Ambush hits an enemy, all party members restore some energy, the amount of which is based on Kujo-Sara's energy recharge. This effect can be triggered once per set time period.
Glory to the Shogun!
Kujo-Sara casts down Tengu Jurai Titanbreaker, dealing AoE electro damage. Afterwards, Tengu Jurai Titanbreaker spreads out into 4 consecutive bouts of Tengu Jurai Storm Cluster, dealing AoE electro damage. Both Titanbreaker and Storm Cluster can provide the active character within their AoE with the same attack bonus as given by Tengu Jurai Ambush. The attack bonus provided by various kinds of Tengu Jurai cannot be stacked. The effect and duration is determined by the last Tengu Jurai to take effect. Kujo-Sara is a seasoned war veteran, and a leader greatly admired by her subordinates. She uses the secret techniques of the Tengu to bolster her forces, and empower them to win victory after victory. In battle, Kujo-Sara must make deft use of her elemental skill to adjust her strategic position, and use charged shots to trigger Tengu Jurai Ambush, dealing damage to the enemy while providing attack bonuses to teammates, and restoring energy for the whole party. When energy is full, Kujo-Sara unleashes her elemental burst to assault the enemy, and once again provide a Tengu Jurai attack bonus, paving the way for her forces to swoop in and crush the enemy's defenses. As a Tengu raised by humans, Kujo-Sara heeds the call of humanity, forsaking her own kind, to fight for the mortal world in battle. Perhaps those who achieve such outstanding feats are too satisfied with their own brilliance to realize that their God has raised them in a prison. Sometimes I cannot decide whether the greater tragedy is to have lost all one's own ambition, or to have adopted the wishes of a god as one's own.
Dang. He's always like, he starts explaining stuff, and then I'm like waiting for more, and then he just stops. Also, I just realized when Aloy had her trailer, that was a whole different narrator. Now we're back to Dainsleif. Every single time I think a character is very similar to another, they always have this crazy unique ability. Koju has the thing where, you know, she can step back like other characters have, but then that offers her to do something different with her bow. And then it's like, you know what I mean? Because everybody has a different way of attacking. And then her ultimate, or her elemental burst, just looks awesome. Like, I mean, you can't really knock that.
In the western regions of Inazuma lies Watatsumi Island, home to a culture and natural landscape unique in the entire archipelago. According to legend, Orobaxi was Watatsumi Island's guardian deity. Even after being slain, this god's will to protect the island flowed on in the Sangonomiya clan. The current heir to this bloodline is known as the Divine Priestess, Sangonomiya Kokomi.
Whoa.
All is accounted for. Let's move out.
Her role is to serve as the island's leader, as well as commander of its armed forces. Behind her delicate appearance lies the mind of a brilliant tactician, She is adept in harnessing the power of Hydro to aid her forces in battle. As their commander, she bravely leads her troops into the fray, sweeping away enemies like sand in the tide. Kokomi spent her childhood on Watatsumi Island. Playing among darting fish and rolling waves, she feels at home in the water. When Sanganomiya Kokomi is in your party, she reduces swimming stamina consumption for your own party members, making exploration faster. Kokomi's normal attack performs up to 3 consecutive strikes that take the form of swimming fish, dealing hydro damage. Holding the attack button consumes a set amount of stamina and deals AoE hydro damage after a short casting time. Tap Kokomi's elemental skill to summon a Bakekurage created from water that can heal her allies.
Nice.
This ability applies the wet status to Kokomi. The Bakekurage periodically deals hydro damage to surrounding enemies, while also healing nearby active characters. The healing amount scales with Kokomi's max HP.
Oh, okay.
Kokomi summons the might of Watatsumi, dealing hydro damage to surrounding enemies, and dons her watery ceremonial garment. While enrobed in the ceremonial garment, Kokomi's normal attack, charged attack, and Bakekurage damage are increased.
Yeah, they are.
And she regenerates HP for all nearby party members when her normal and charged attacks hit opponents. Kokomi's damage increase and the healing amount both scale with her max HP. Additionally, Kokomi's ceremonial garment increases her resistance to interruption and allows her to walk on the water's surface. After unlocking the talent Tamanoya's Casket, casting Kokomi's elemental burst refreshes the duration of her Bakekurage if already on the battlefield.
Did she run on water though?
In the pure glow of her water-woven garment, Kokomi draws power from the traditional song of the Divine Priestess. After unlocking the talent Song of Pearls, when enrobed by the ceremonial garment, Kokomi's max HP base damage dealt by her normal and charged attacks is further increased, by an amount that scales with her own healing bonus. Kokomi plans meticulously for every battle she faces. Her thorough attention to detail ensures that her forces will emerge victorious. Sanganomiya Kokomi sacrifices Crit Rate to increase her healing bonus. Matched with her talent Song of Pearls, she offers stability in any conflict. In the chaos of battle, victory and defeat can hinge on a single moment. Versed in the art of war, Kokomi knows to stay calm and composed as she develops her winning strategy. The survival of her forces being a key part of her ability to seize the moment of victory. In battle, Kokomi uses the Bakekurage summoned by her elemental skill to recover HP for her teammates, and set up perfect conditions for hydro-elemental reactions, assisting her allies on the offensive. When needed, she personally joins the fray to unleash her elemental burst, strengthening her abilities with the ceremonial garment. Then, with the aid of her teammates and her Bakekurage, she attacks like a tidal wave, overwhelming the enemy and securing victory. Long ago, a god defeated the enemies from the deep and raised the people of Watatsumi from the desolate seabed. Later, another god vanquished their beloved Watatsumi Omikami, leaving the deathly Tataragami in its wake. If you were to liken human history to a great battle, the actions of gods would seem as difficult to predict as the weather, a capricious variable. Faced with such turbulent storms, who knows how long this girl who carries a divine will can protect the people of this island?
Yeah, you guys have to tell me and let me know is she a good character or not, because based off what I've seen, I don't really know. But on a side note, I definitely have to check out where she's from, like Watatsumi Island in the game. Hopefully it is in the game, I believe. I'm assuming all the places they're talking about are in the game, but definitely got to check out that area. That looks really cool.
Strict regulations govern everything in Inazuma. Outlanders looking for a home away from home face many obstacles here. So how did a Mondstadter called Toma earn a reputation as a local fixer?
Oh, it's Toma?
And secure a job with the Yashiro Commission? Is this a testament to the Kamisato clan's magnanimity, or to Toma's exceptional abilities?
Where we headed this time?
Thought it was Thelma.
Toma is well connected and values his companions both in everyday life and in combat. He fights to defend the ones he holds dear. When crisis comes, Toma's urge to defend kicks in as he dons his armor and grabs his polearm to help his friends fend off their foes with scorching flames. He is someone that his team can always rely on. Toma takes to new life skills like a fish to water. After arriving in Inazuma, he quickly learned how to partake of the bountiful blessings found in the nation's waters. After Toma becomes your travel companion, when travelers go fishing in Inazuma, there is a certain chance to receive double the catch with Toma's help.
How do you fish?
Toma's normal attack can combo up to 4 strikes, dealing physical damage. Holding the attack button, Toma consumes a certain amount of stamina to perform a charged attack, lunging forward and dealing physical damage to enemies in his path. Tap Toma's elemental skill, and he vaults forward with his polearm to deliver a fling-filled flying kick, dealing AoE pyro damage, while also summoning a defensive blazing barrier. At the moment of casting, this skill applies pyro to Toma. The blazing barrier absorbs damage and is especially effective against pyro damage. The damage absorption scales off of Toma's max HP. Also, when a new blazing barrier is obtained, the existing barrier's damage absorption will stack, and the duration is refreshed. The blazing barrier's damage absorption cannot exceed a certain percentage of Toma's max HP.
I got you covered!
When Toma unleashes his elemental burst, he spins his polearm, slicing at his foes with roaring flames, dealing AoE pyro damage, and producing a scorching Oyoroi. While scorching Oyoroi is in effect, the active character's normal attacks will trigger fiery collapses, dealing AoE pyro damage, and summoning a blazing barrier. Except for the amount of damage they can absorb, the blazing barriers created in this way are identical to those created by Toma's elemental skill.
Oh.
After unlocking the talent Flaming Assault, damage dealt by Crimson Oyoroi's fiery collapse is increased by an amount that scales with Toma's max HP. Toma's robust defense will not be torn down easily. It gets all the more resilient as the battle heats up. After unlocking the talent Imbricated Armor, when a blazing barrier is obtained or refreshed, the active character's shield strength is increased.
Jesus.
Toma is a dependable companion. He ardently believes in defending others. Even in the fiercest of battles, you can trust him to have your back. During battle, Toma uses Blazing Barrier to protect other party members, allowing them to safely go on the offensive. When he casts his elemental burst, the Scorching Oyoroi provides both attack and defense. Party members under Scorching Oyoroi's protection benefit from increased odds of survival and can also trigger fiery collapses with their normal attacks. The pyro damage support that Toma provides in this way further enhances the party's attack capabilities. As an outsider in Inazuma, Toma is often viewed as someone who doesn't belong. To this day, many believe the slander behind his back. But through his own hard work and the Kamisato clan's tolerant attitude, Toma has carved out a space for himself here, despite the somewhat hostile environment.
That's good.
Occasionally a thought crosses my mind. If one who has turned their back on the gods ever chose to follow them once more, Would any such favorable treatment be extended to them? Regrettably, no opportunity of this nature exists, nor would I have the desire to take it. Over centuries of futility, I have at least learned one thing. So long as you have determination, you can always keep going. A defender's will is a precious thing, and hatred can serve to nourish it.
It's like all these characters are either the boss, the princess, or like the captain, or they're the one lonely, shunned person by their surroundings. Like, the way Dangeleft is like explaining it, it seems really sad, but when you see the characters walking around, it doesn't seem that bad, but it's pretty rough for some people.
In recent years, the efforts of one young Crimson Oni have earned the loud and proud Arataki gang a certain measure of fame in Inazuma City's Hanamizaka district. Or perhaps that should be infamy. Either way, when it comes to their founder and leader, Arataki Itto, everyone has to agree he's one of a kind.
Arataki numero uno Ito here in the flesh.
Nice.
If you claim you've never heard of the Arataki gang, don't be surprised if Ito takes it as an intentional provocation. In protest, he'll lift his hefty claymore and show off a few of his signature charged attacks, just so everyone knows who's the baddest Oni in town. Arataki Ito brags that with his Oni strength, even the sturdiest of trees can be felled. With Arataki Ito in the party, when your party members attack trees to obtain wood resources, they have a chance to get an additional log of wood.
Wow.
Arataki Ito's normal attack can combo up to 4 strikes. When his second and fourth strikes hit enemies, Ito will gain 1 or 2 stacks of superlative super strength, respectively, up to a max of 5 stacks. For a short time after sprinting or using his elemental skill, Ito can continue his normal attack chain where it left off. When performing a charged attack, if Ito has any superlative super strength stacks, he will unleash Arataki Kesagiri slashes without consuming stamina. Each slash consumes 1 stack of superlative super strength. When the last stack is consumed, Ito delivers a powerful final slash. If no superlative super strength is available, Ito's charged attack consumes stamina to perform a single Saichi Monji slash. After unlocking the talent Arataki Ichiban, when Arataki Ito uses Arataki Kesagiri, he slashes with increased attack speed, and his resistance to interruption is also increased. These effects will be cleared once he stops performing consecutive slashes. Tap Ito's elemental skill, and he hurls Ushi, the young Akaushi bull and auxiliary member of the Arataki gang, dealing geo damage to enemies. When Ushi hits enemies, Arataki Ito gains a stack of superlative super strength. Holding the elemental skill button allows Ito to adjust Ushi's throwing angle. Ushi inherits HP based on a percentage of Arataki Ito's max HP, and continuously taunts surrounding enemies. When Ushi takes damage, Arataki Ito gains a stack of superlative super strength. Ushi will flee when its HP reaches 0 or its duration ends, and Arataki Ito gains a stack of superlative super strength as it leaves. Ushi is considered a geo-construct, and Arataki Ito can only deploy 1 Ushi on the field at any one time.
Oni coming through!
When Ito unleashes his elemental burst, he lets out his inner raging Oni King for a time, and wields his Oni King's Kanabo in battle. For the burst's duration, Ito's elemental and physical resistance are decreased, but his normal, charged, and plunging attacks are converted to geo damage that cannot be overridden. Also, Ito's normal attack speed is increased, and his attack is increased, based on his defense. During the Raging Oni King state, when the first or third strikes of his attack hits an enemy, Ito gains a stack of superlative super strength. With adept use of this effect, Ito can overwhelm the enemy with more Arataki Kesagiri slashes, and vaunt the might of the Arataki gang. Ito's Crimson Oni bloodline is not only a point of pride, it's his source of strength in battle. After unlocking the talent Bloodline of the Crimson Oni, Arataki Kesagiri damage is increased by an amount that scales with Ito's defense. Arataki Ito's life is one where a new challenger could appear at any moment. But as a self-professed tough guy, he won't go down without a fight.
Self-professed.
No matter who the opponent, he's always itching to show off his awesome skills and attain victory with style. During battle, Arataki Ito uses his normal attacks and elemental skill to accumulate stacks of superlative super strength, then batters the enemy with the Arataki Kesagiri charged attack. When his energy is full, Arataki Ito unleashes his elemental burst to enter the raging Oni King state, greatly enhancing his abilities. In this state, Ito can quickly stack up that superlative super strength and use Arataki Kesagiri slashes to crush those who dare challenge.
Golly.
Compared to his peers, Arataki Ito has lived a colorful life and is familiar with the inside of a prison cell, fully qualifying him as the rightful leader of the Arataki gang. Though some may contest his way of handling things, the members of this young Crimson Oni's gang choose to follow him, despite the diet of grilled lavender melon. Well, it's one way of living. And ultimately, surviving on sporadic work and next to no mora is still an easier task than trying to deny your destiny.
It's true. He seems like a real funny guy. A real, like, you know, braggadocious type of person. As far as his abilities go, he's really aggressive once again. And it looks like you have to get those little, like, stacks up. Like that, you have to get that mask fully formed. And after all, it does say Supreme Super Strength, but that's probably something that he called himself.
In the vast and mysterious world of Teyvat, there are as many ways of life as there are people. Some heed the call of duty, others the call of freedom. Some follow their beliefs, others their talents. A few trust their instincts and rise to shoulder great responsibility, a prime example being General Goro of Watatsumi Island. Since you never know what the enemy might throw at you, the key to surviving the chaos of battle is being able to adapt in the moment.
Keep your weapon at the ready. You never know what's around the corner.
Goro has endured countless battles in his time, and this experience has taught him one important lesson. However strong you may be, war is never a one-man job. As a commander, Goro is constantly looking out for his troops, offering his protection and support, right alongside them on the front line. Goro has always loved the great outdoors. His keen sense of smell makes him an expert at tracking down resources. When Goro is in your party, the location of resources unique to Inazuma will appear on your minimap, making it easier to gather supplies. Goro's normal attack can combo up to 4 consecutive shots, dealing physical damage. With a charged attack, Goro executes a more precise aimed shot that deals increased damage. While aiming, stone crystals accumulate on the arrowhead. A fully charged arrow will deal geo damage.
Geo bow user.
Tap Goro's elemental skill to employ Inuzaka all-round defense, dealing AoE geo damage, and erecting a general's war banner. Hold the skill to adjust the banner's position. The general's war banner provides buffs to active party members within its AoE. And the more geo characters in the party, the stronger the buffs.
Oh, really?
If the party contains 1 geo character, the buff is Standing Firm, which increases the active character's defense. If there are 2 geo party members, the buff is Impregnable, increasing both defense and resistance to interruption.
And 3.
And if there are 3 geo party members, the buff is Crunch, which increases defense and resistance to interruption, while also providing a geo damage bonus. Goro can only deploy a single General's War Banner at any given time. Also, characters can only benefit from one General's War Banner at a time. Any active buffs will be cleared shortly after the character leaves the banner's AoE.
Everyone on me!
Goro displays his General's Valor, dealing AoE geo damage and creating the General's Glory field to embolden his comrades. General's Glory provides the same buffs as the General's War Banner created by Goro's elemental skill. Various buffs are provided to the active character in the skill's AoE, based on the number of geo characters in the party. But this field moves with the active character. At regular intervals, a crystal collapse occurs, dealing AoE geo damage to one enemy within the field, and pulling an elemental shard from the crystallize reaction to the active character's location. When Goro uses his elemental burst, if there is a General's War Banner on the field, it will be destroyed. Also, while General's Glory is in effect, using Goro's elemental skill will not create a General's War Banner. After unlocking the talent Heedless of the Wind and Weather, all nearby party members receive a temporary defense boost after Goro uses Juga, Forward unto Victory.
Oh.
For the gifted to find their true calling, someone must first recognize their talent. Goro knows this well. He is eternally grateful and staunchly committed to Watatsumi Island's defense. After unlocking the talent A Favor Repaid, Goro's elemental skill damage, burst damage, and crystal collapse damage are all increased by an amount based on his defense. Goro's unique skill set provides excellent support to Geo Party members. Deploying the General's War Banner to establish an optimal formation before launching the offensive is the core of Goro's prowess as a general. Goro's unique skill set provides and crystal collapse damage are all increased by an amount based on his defense. Goro's unique skill set provides excellent support to Geo Party members. Deploying the General's War Banner to establish an optimal formation before launching the offensive is the core of Goro's prowess as a general. When he joins forces with other Geo comrades, his General's War Banner provides a diverse array of buffs, aiding the party both in offense and in defense. When his energy is full, unleash Goro's elemental burst to establish the General's Glory field, creating the perfect moment to attack and inspiring the whole party to press forward unto victory.
Right.
Whether they seek it or not, those of exceptional ability and character tend to gain the trust of the masses. For Goro, this trust serves both as a confirmation of his abilities and motivation to hone them continuously. But the cost of being someone that everyone relies on is the burden of responsibility that it brings. Everything from helping the troops with their daily struggles to keeping Watatsumi Island safe and secure ultimately falls on Goro's shoulders. Time and fate treat such notions with contempt, which can make the burden unbearably heavy. If one day the world is turned upside down, will his instincts and determination alone provide him with enough strength to keep carrying the load he bears?
He is a character where it obviously depends on your party, because if you don't have, basically a whole Geo team, then it's kind of not pointless, but if you do choose him, then you definitely want to have a whole Geo party essentially.
Although the paths through the lofty peaks of Julliangg Karst are arduous, there are always bright-eyed mortals who come seeking the adeptal path. For all their ambition, most mere mortals cannot fathom the way to the Adepti, and return from their fruitless journeys disappointed. Yet those fortunate enough to encounter some hardship may suddenly find themselves being rescued by a divine young lady. Stunned by the elegance of their silver-haired savior, they hastily begin bowing excitedly in reverence and adulation, only to find their Adeptus rescuer remain indifferent and leave without even a second glance.
I will do as you command.
Shine?
Though Shen-He is often mistaken for an Adeptus, she is actually a mortal, albeit one who is an accomplished Adepti disciple. Being naturally gifted, and having learned polearm combat and various adeptal arts from her masters, exorcising evil spirits is a mere trifle to her.
Some mortal, huh?
Under her master's tutelage, Shen-He trained diligently, producing impressive results.
Shen-He.
When Shen-He is dispatched on a 20-hour expedition in Liyue, she will obtain increased rewards.
It's nice.
Shen-He's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes with her polearm, dealing physical damage. Shen-He's charged attack consumes a set amount of stamina to lunge forward, dealing damage to enemies in her path.
Not too many lance users.
When she casts Spring Spirit Summoning, Shen-He grants all nearby party members the Icy Quill effect, and deals cryo damage in different ways based on whether the skill is tapped or held. When tapped, Shen-He will rush forward with a Talisman Spirit, dealing cryo damage to enemies along her path. When held, Shen-He commands the Talisman Spirit to deal AoE cryo damage to surrounding enemies. When party members are affected by Icy Quill, normal, charged, and plunging attacks, elemental skills, and elemental bursts that deal cryo damage to enemies deal increased damage based on Shen-He's current attack. The Icy Quill's effect will be cleared once its duration ends, or after being triggered a certain number of times. When the skill is held rather than tapped, the effect lasts longer and can be triggered more times. When a party member with the Icy Quill effect deals an instance of cryo damage to multiple enemies, the effect is triggered multiple times, according to the number of enemies hit. The number of times Icy Quill's effect is triggered is calculated separately for each party member.
Oh, wow.
After unlocking the talent Spirit Communion Seal, when Shen-He casts Spring Spirit Summoning, she grants additional effects to all nearby party members. Tapping the skill increases their elemental skill and elemental burst damage, while holding the skill increases their normal, charged, and plunging attack damage.
Cryo Incarnate!
Shen-He unleashes the power of the Talisman Spirit, allowing it to roam free, dealing AoE cryo damage. The Talisman Spirit then creates a field, which decreases the cryo and physical resistance of enemies within, and also deals periodic cryo damage to them.
Spirit takes her sweet
After unlocking
time.
the talent Deific Embrace, an active character within the AoE of Divine Maiden's Deliverance will gain a cryo damage bonus. Shen-He is fated to bear the curse of calamity. As cautioned by the Adepti, she is careful to avoid harming the innocent. But as for those with malicious intent, she's only too happy to put them in their place by giving them a taste of the Adepti arts. Shen-He's Spring Spirit Summoning is the core of her skill set, offering support to other cryo party members with the Icy Quill effect. In battle, proficient use of her elemental skills tap and hold effects allows Shen-He to shine by enhancing the party's attack capabilities. When energy is full, Shen-He unleashes her elemental burst, decreasing enemies' cryo and physical resistance, and creating the opportune moment to defeat the weakened enemies. Liyue Harbor is known as a bustling melting pot of a city, ready to welcome any and every lonely figure. But if Shen-He truly wishes to rejoin human society, there is much she will have to learn. Even I myself do not relish the solitary life I lead. When others are fortunate enough to meet a companion for their journey, I sincerely wish them the very best. After all, to this day, I hold that people should be authors of their own fate, both the crane ready to make peace with the past, and the beast with a grudge to bear have the freedom to make their journey home.
She has some great abilities there. And isn't she, whatchamacallit's, like, auntie? I'm not sure who the other character was, but that was just a funny scene in the character demo. But to me, any character who can create, like, a big AoE and then kind of combo that damage or chain that damage with other elements is always good. So she's definitely another character that would be really cool to have.
The people of Liyue have always been fond of Liyue opera. The reason? Only through these old tales from eons ago can they witness the legendary feats of the Adepti. But ever since the young Yunjin became director of the Yunhan Opera Troupe, not only has she excelled in classical Adepti-style opera, but she has also brought her own original stories to the stage, recounting tales of the common folk. It is often said that listening to Ms. Yun's new operas is like unwrapping a gift box.
The common what?
Own original stories to the stage, recounting tales of the common folk. It is often said that listening to Ms. Yun's new operas is like unwrapping a gift box. Anticipation followed by sheer delight.
Which opera shall we perform today?
Yunjin.
Fans of Liyue opera all agree that Yunjin has boundless talent, performing admirably both on the stage and on the battlefield. When defending herself from the enemy, Yunjin deftly adapts the techniques of stage combat, turning defense into offense and putting on a show her enemies won't forget in a hurry. In order to satisfy her appetite, while maintaining a perfect figure and singing voice, Yunjin developed a certain knack for cooking. When Yunjin achieves perfect cooking on dishes with adventure-related effects,
she gets 2.
She has a certain chance to cook double the amount. Yunjin's normal attack can combo up to 5 strikes, dealing physical damage. Yunjin's charged attack consumes a set amount of stamina to lunge forward, dealing physical damage to enemies in her path.
Some more lance action.
Tap her elemental skill, and Yunjin strikes from a cloud-grasping stance, dealing geo damage. When the skill is held, Yunjin adopts the opening flourish stance and charges up, forming a shield. The shield's damage absorption scales off Yunjin's max HP, and has increased effectiveness against all elemental and physical damage.
Oh, you gotta time that.
When the skill is released, its duration ends, or when the shield breaks, Yunjin will unleash the charged energy as an attack, dealing geo damage. Based on the time spent charging, the attack will unleash at charge level 1 or charge level 2. After unlocking the talent True to Oneself, using Opening Flourish at the precise moment when Yunjin is attacked will unleash its level 2 charged form. Proficient use of these skills allows Yunjin to effectively fend off enemy attacks and strike back.
Break a leg!
Unleashing Yunjin's elemental burst deals AoE geo damage and grants the Flying Cloud Flag formation to nearby party members. When characters with Flying Cloud Flag formation deal normal attack damage to enemies, they will deal bonus damage based on Yunjin's current defense.
Wow.
The effects of Flying Cloud Flag formation will be cleared after a set duration, or after being triggered a set number of times. When one normal attack hits multiple enemies, the effect is triggered multiple times according to the number of enemies hit. The number of times triggered is counted independently for each member of the party. After unlocking the talent Breaking Conventions, the normal attack damage bonus granted by Flying Cloud Flag formation is further increased. The more elemental types among your party members, the greater the increase. Unlike on the stage, there is no script to rely on in battle, but in Yunjin's mind, unexpected enemies serve as her best rehearsal partners, providing fresh inspiration with their unscripted attacks. In battle, Yunjin must make deft use of her elemental skill. She waits for the moment and counterattacks when the enemy is vulnerable to gain the upper hand. When her energy is full, Yunjin unleashes her elemental burst, granting nearby party members the Flying Cloud flag formation, increasing her teammates' normal attack damage, and helping them to finish off their enemies. Compared to a lifetime, a single opera performance is short-lived. And against the vastness of history, mortal lives are like walk-on parts in a grand play, drops in a boundless ocean. However spellbinding the performance, the curtain call will come and the audience will leave. Perhaps this is why Yunjin incorporates the details of ordinary lives into her scripts, portraying the trials and tribulations of the common folk, alongside grand tales of gods and adepti, preserving their stories in operatic form to honor the human experience for generations to come. I happen to know a story about the heavenly principles and mortals, about cataclysm and peace, curse and devastation. If I were to share this story with Yunjin, I do wonder how her theatrical interpretation would turn out.
Man. Alright, well there you have it. There's every single collected miscellany. That was a joy to watch, especially for me, someone who's new to it. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and watch these videos when I unlock some of these characters. I only have a handful. I don't even think I have anybody that's in this list, to be honest with you. However, I was definitely blown away with some of the abilities. Not all of them. Some seemed like they were pretty, you know, basic, but you know, still cool, definitely. I mean, Venti shocked me, Klee, Jean, especially all the people who could heal but also attack at the same time, like their attack helped them heal. Chi-Chi with her ability to just like, or no, not Chi-Chi, Seiyu, I believe, if I'm saying her name right, the one that could roll, like that was, you know, that shocked me definitely. Shenhe, you know, anybody who had abilities where, you know, they just, it's an easy stack, like an easy way to chain together different elements. That's definitely cool for me, because you know, I'm still learning how to chain those elemental attacks together, and so people or characters like that make it really easy. And I'm sure you guys had to be like super excited when these were actually coming out, like, you know, like when they actually dropped, especially because like they do such a good job of like breaking this stuff down. Like, I'm sure you guys have probably found better ways to make this make sense, like, you know, better ways to, you know, use combos and stuff like that. Once again, as somebody who's kind of new to the game, like these videos are really going to help me in the long run, and believe it or not, I will be going back to these videos. You know, after all that, it really makes me want to know more about the characters specifically, which I know I can find that information, but yeah, the things that Dane Slept says afterwards and before, that stuff is really intriguing to me. Like, honestly, it is. Like, I love lore, I love like finding out about characters and stuff like that, so that was like kind of the key part for me. And a lot of people use a lot of the same things, like bows, swords, you know, claymores, and you know, just elemental strikes, stuff like that, but they all do it in such different ways that makes them unique to each other. And like I was saying before, there's so many characters that are either like a leader or a captain or a princess, and then there's characters who are just like shunned. Some characters are not even human. Some characters are beasts, some characters are like zombies or like reanimated. Big fan of the characters who can like sprint in different ways. Like Mona, for example, go under the water, she can go through the water. You know, and every character that was like that could just do different ways of like sprinting. That was really cool to me. Either way, I'm loving the game. I'm loving this whole world that they put together. I'm looking forward to the future of this game. I'm looking forward to, like, you know, the newer characters, and who knows, maybe one day I will actually catch up and be on time and up to date with this game, and I'll actually, you know, be excited with you guys when a new trailer comes out, because I'll actually be waiting for more content. But I'm so behind. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. And when I say I'm behind, I mean like a year and a half behind. So, but either way, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. And don't worry, there's much more coming, much more coming. But until next time, I will catch you guys in the next one.